She really wore me out. Oh. Drink. Backup drink. Just took a glass of cold water that I had prepared specifically for today. Wanna hit it like gonna hit it like gonna hit it like finna hit it like finna hit it like We must summon the energy chat. We must wake up with the chat room. I won't know you're awake until I see the chat moving. Energy. 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 Gotta keep that energy. I must keep your energy. Let's keep your energy. 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 Like, oh. Gotta keep your energy high. Oh, gotta keep your energy high. Oh, gotta keep your energy high. Back of this. Put it on the back of that. Hit it on the back of this. Put it on the back of that. Put it on the back of this. Put them on the back of that. You can throw it back, and get your sexy. I'm throwing them back to that. Back. Hello, chat. Are you awake? Are you alive? I don't know. No one's talking. I'm scared. You're scaring me. Yeah, say something. I don't truly know if you are alive if you don't say something. It's only 10:29 in the morning. You know. I finally did that research that I said I needed to do. And because I did that research, today's first topic is a fucking doozy. And it's gonna be annoying as hell to go through. Because I hate evil people. And this man isn't just evil, he's comically evil. Oop, even the worst part of the fucking details in here, but that's okay. 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 All right. Let's start with the parts that we can be able to, in the simplest way possible. Let's ease our way in, shall we? Because Chad don't want to say hi to me. Let us begin. Starting off today with a very, very serious topic, in the sense of it's serious to the point that the things that I'm about to show you, they're not cope, they're not cap, they're not any of that. What it is a very clear breakdown of what can only be described as probably one of the worst kind of replacements that a person could have in the viewpoint of dealing with political grifting, liars, and potential people who will be your vice president. You know, if democracy is to prevail, let's start off the easy way. We all have seen the announcement at this point. If you haven't, I'm sorry that you have to learn this way. Kamala Harris is not dropping out of the race. She is going to attempt to reach for the presidency, and she's going to tap Tim Walz as her VP. But the problem is, the Democratic ticket represents ultimately nothing. In the serious position of it, anything that you look into about Tim Walz should give you skin hives. But let's work our way in slowly before we get to the parts that have to require me breaking it down further. Let's begin.
Story from The Guardian. Most of you probably know this already because it was big news this morning. Kamala Harris bets on Tim Walz as running mate. We are going to win. Well, they just had a big rally in Pennsylvania, and they said a whole lot of nothing. They basically just insulted Donald Trump and J.D. Vance over and over again, talked about how they were bad. They didn't talk about anything they intend to do. I have no idea what's going on. If you go to KamalaHarris.com, the first thing you're greeted with is this: Harris Walz, with your help, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are ready to win this election. Okay, well, what are you going to bring the American people? Nothing. Literally nothing. They have nothing here. And so I just got to tell you guys, I'm seeing all these conservatives making posts, and they're laying down in the mud with the Democrats. Look, when the Democrats come out...
Who's laying down in the mud, Tim? You can't just say conservatives. It sounds like when people unironically say conservatoid, and then they say the same thing about rightoid or leftoid, and no one presents the toids. Where are the toids? Can you name them? If you can't name them, I don't care.
Out, and their only campaign position is Trump is bad and J.D. Vance is weird.
Well, that's of course going to be their talking point, that Trump is bad and J.D. Vance is weird. They're hoping that people have enough Trump derangement syndrome that they can get across the margin without actually having to do any work. You letting them do that by saying that's the whole totality of position is the fun part. It actually means that you truly don't want to say the actual truth problem the problem is. Because the real part of the problem that's even funnier than that is even worse than that. That's just the simplistic part. The other part is the stupidest one. And all you gotta really do to understand that is really get down to brass tacks. Example. Ooh, I now have both Oral Sacrifice and that one. Too bad I'm not reading that bill. When you get down to brass tacks, simplistic and to land about the part is clear. One, you want people to be in their right or wrong minds of the concept of how they want you to simply just be mad, whereas Trump still is coming off of a assassination attempt. Where in what world, if anyone can name one for me, where exactly in this world does one do everything possible to run away from the situation that they created? You guys created a world where you can justify the hatred of another person because you don't like them. And while you might not like Trump, you are responsible for him being where he is. You guys literally did everything possible to ignore how he was guilty of nothing except making you upset, making you mad. Then You effectively tried to run away from the very obvious problem of, hey, why is this guy having assassination attempts and why are we pretending like this shit is not news? Did he have to be does he have to be related to the fucking Kennedys in order for you to realize how fucking insidious it is that you can go from Trump to now talking about the generals like this shit doesn't smell of obvious fucking plant? How about the fact that there is, for the history of his career, Tim Walz being a literal steward? How about the fact that our president somehow is just supposed to be shuffled off to the sideline? Really interesting how all the Biden news just died off because they can now talk about Harris news. Possibly that can't be a coinkydink. Certainly that can't be a coinkydink. Perhaps I'm stupid. Maybe my eyes need to be adjusted. Let me go ahead and rub them. Squeak, 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 squeak. Squeak, 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 squeak. Boink, boink, boink. Nope, still living in the bullshit. But yes, Tim, that's definitely the most important thing. That's what they think about Trump, and that's what they think about J.D. Vance. Can you actually tell me some serious positions that they possibly have had? Or is that how you're going to simplify it? Because I know what they said. Don't worry, chat. We're going to listen to what they said. Can you tell me a little bit more about what they actually said? If not, what are you queuing me up for, bro?
I believe in traveling light.
Cool wind.
Timcast.
And the response from people on the right is, no, you're weird. That's exactly what they're hoping for. Because the response should be, prices are too high. When they say, J.D. Vance is weird, you go, inflation is up. That's the response. And so I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, if there are people willing to stand behind Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania, waving flags and cheering for her, when she offers them literally nothing, I don't think you're going to convince those people, if anything, by just saying, no, you are weird. So, I don't know. We'll break down who Tim Walz is and his crackpot policies. What say you, panel?
I just can't believe how empty this campaign is. And I think Tim Walz is an interesting choice. There's so much to unpack from today. I'm kind of trying to figure out where to start. But we had that call, right? That this you know, obviously stage call where Kamal's in her power suit.
It's the same fucking kind of call that was made when she was chosen as VP. Of course it's fucking staged. The entire idea is going to be a fucking farce. They're fighting against a television guy who can clearly work the microphone. Who, again, is not being discussed openly, because to discuss him openly means you're going to have to accept, hey guys, so we're going to pretend that he didn't just have an assassination attempt, like it's something we desperately want to pull away from? No, yes, yes, no, just checking, amongst other fucking things. Of course, it looks staged, because it is staged.
And she's talking to him, calls him buddy, and he's dressed like a regular guy. And again, to me, this just shows that all of this is a performance, it's theater. Tim Walz is interesting because
our entire political system is a theater, full of theater kids, incestuous theater kids, who are too busy touching each other to touch a motherfucking policy book. Pokemon, go to the goddamn clinic. You have chlamydia.
he was at one point sort of a moderate Democrat and has really drifted into more progressive lanes. Like at one point, the NRA had given him a pretty good rating, and then the Parkland shooting happening, and he completely moved towards really strong gun control positions, and they eventually revoked their positive views of him. And so I think this is sort of it's interesting that this is who the Democrats have picked to be the second person on this ticket, someone who has gone from being moderate to more extreme. Again, Kamala Harris was...
The entire Democratic ticket has been based on extremity. They have been courting the far left, the same way many people have claimed, or it is to be seen, but I'm of the opinion that they don't have one. Hello, chat. That you are dealing with the far right. I have seen both things. Both things are weird. Both things are dumb and stupid. It don't change nothing if you don't actually have an answer to that. Which it seems many don't. And I find it interesting that you guys are more focused on that than on actually doing that response. It's very funny that your female panelist doesn't go in on that. Timmy Tim. Jimmy Jam. What do I know? I'm just some black guy.
Biden's more progressive option, his sort of olive branch to progressive members of his party. But for me, the biggest thing is the state flag for Minnesota, right? They had this state flag and they moved it to be this horrible thing. And that's kind of what I think this ticket now represents, taking things that are cool and unique to America and making them bad.
Well, I think that Tim Walz wants to trans your kids. He wants to turn America into a sanctuary nation for trans kids.
I mean, that's a thing that he wants to do. That's not the thing that he's responsible for doing. More on that when we get there.
I just think these people don't actually represent anything.
Well, he does represent that. He has gone out.
Cult.
And, he represents
whatever
the
cult says, it makes no sense.
I didn't dream of heaven. I dreamed of my wife's thighs. Are they in the room? There are conservatives, but the problem is, like in any situation, granted, I'm not a political channel, but this is shit that should be obvious. The conservatives, if they exist, never speak for themselves until somebody gives them programming. They're not like the NBCs that you normally expect. What it is they are too scared to make a position of their own because they haven't been shown a position of leadership that they're willing to get behind. Because they're so tired of losing that they don't make moves unless the move is obvious. It's a very interesting form of choice paralysis. So, rather than behind a choice paralysis where it's, I have an opinion, but this person won't support my opinion until another person supports my opinion. Let's put this in gaming context. I have an opinion. I'm more than happy to say my opinion, but motherfuckers don't get behind me because I'm SinglePlayerCarl. That same opinion, word for word, bar for bar, exclamation for exclamation, including the added insults and barbs and humors and jokes and dad jokes, is repeated by insert your favorite big YouTuber big channel here. Everybody is now repeating my position, but every single person is pretending that it's their own opinion that they got from the other guy who can't have his own opinion. You know, not Charlie, since Charlie's not there. Probably more like Asmongold. That is the reality of what it's like to deal with people who call themselves Republican or conservative when it comes to the political field. There's a lot of, man, that's so cool, that's a really great argument. Why didn't we use that argument? Which is then followed by, yeah, why didn't you use that argument? Why you just sit there and take it? To which many of them seem to say, well, you know. And you then say in response to them, well, no, we don't know. Why don't you tell us the reason why you're just taking up the backside? And they're like, well, you know, we have the balls. And it's been like that for the last 12 years. In many places, they should have balls. But they, in fact, do not have balls. And it is weird that they do not have balls, because the way in which they choose to selectively have balls is honestly flabbergasting. Especially if you consider it for the things you have to actually care about versus the things you shouldn't care about. Now, when it comes to the kind of Nerthenberger that Tim is describing, this is not shocking of that political landscape pool, because it is, again, the consequence of not having outcomes and not having leaders to properly stand behind. Because this is not a MAGA position. This is not a Republican position. This is a scared lion position. They're scared lions. They have no pride in what is supposed to be a position they can win from, because they're not used to being in a position to win. Same things that you could say plague the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is plagued by the position of people who have bad leadership. The Republican Party is plagued by the position of people who have old leadership with no messaging. They have no idea on what to do because they don't even have the ability to talk to each other, because they're so stuck in their own particular spheres that one particular sphere doesn't overlap with another unless somehow it's brought inextricably together, if that makes sense. So, Tim basically saying they have no platform doesn't really mean much, because even the fucking Republicans don't have a platform. Because outside of Trump, they don't have true leadership. And that's not to say that Trump is not a leader for them. What it does say is they're not going to be for Trump unless somebody actively tells them you should be supporting him. It's like me telling somebody, hey, there's money on the ground next to your feet. Perhaps you should pick it up. And that person's response effectively being, I can't pick it up. Someone has to tell me that I have to pick it up. But an opinion that I've used before, of course. But this one has the caveat of, hey, if you don't pick up the dollar bill that's by your feet, the dollar bill that is by your feet, hello Ebony, the dollar bill that is by your feet is going to directly lead to you losing rights because you don't know how to vote. And the person's response is still, but I need someone to tell me, who should I vote for? Who am I supposed to vote for here? I have no idea what to do. These candidates, it's so hard to understand what to do here. No matter how you go about this, it's going to be a very painful experience for all people involved. But it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Sense, there's no logic. They keep saying the same things over and over again because it's just a cult. And the scary thing is, you know, you look at the way they... You've got these... I don't know what you'd want to call them.
I'll finish your correct sentence for you. They say the same thing over and over again. It's a cult because it is.
It's a non-theistic religion, wokeness. And you can see people on X that...
Don't say wokeness. Define it for what it is. If you're not going to say cultural Marxism, you're not really saying what needs to be said. Because it's cultural Marxism and clear desires to demotivate a capital while they run roughshod over their civil rights. They want to make a gun grab position. They want to make a intolerance position. They want to make an argument for why you should not have these things, why you should not do these things, why you should not go to these places, why you should be disenfranchised, why you should be bullied, why you should be mocked, why you should be told, yes, support this person who absolutely was responsible for multiple cities burning and the retardedly, comedically evil things his entire family did. When I say his family, I do mean his entire family, including his wife. Define! Amongst things and more. More on that when we get there. But do not say, the wokeism, 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 wokeism. If you can't define what wokeism is, it doesn't matter. Don't use the word. Find a new way to talk about it. When it comes to the political sphere, that is very much an old tire fucking hat. You need to make it sound better. You need to make it sound smart. You need to make it sound interesting. Because I'm not interested in wokeism. I'm interested in, how is Kamala Harris fucking me tonight? How am I getting fucked at the gas pump tonight? Or rather, how is my wife getting fucked at the gas pump tonight? How am I getting fucked in the store? How am I getting screwed on these things considering their policies? I don't want to hear a single thing about wokeism. You're not going to find a way to relate it to shit. Because they're going to laugh you out of the room. Because they can sidestep the game. When you say that shit, you're giving them the game, bro.
You know they know they're lying. That they're intentionally playing by a script to manipulate people. They don't represent any values. They just represent this narrative. And
okay, but what do you represent? What does the opposing side represent? That's not what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing that.
there are tons of stupid people who just follow it for whatever reason.
There are stupid people who follow both sides. Both sides are guilty of this.
So Tim Walz, when he's defending these things, when he's for these things, he's just for whatever the machine tells him to be for. That's what.
Oh no, he has many opinions of his own. Problem is, chat's not gonna like those opinions when we get there. No, you will not, chat. You will not like those opinions when we get to them. Because there's a point where I have to open up the second window browser, and we gotta read. You ain't finna like what he likes. Oh boy, you ain't finna like what he likes.
Why there's no policies listed on their website?
Not a single one.
You know, it just says we are less than 3 months out from a major election, and the Democratic Party has no platform. None!
Because they don't have to have one. They can just say, we don't like Trump. Which should be an automatic non-starter and should lose them a race handedly. And when they handedly lose the race to Trump, they should be forced to eject the radical parts of the party out of the goddamn party.
I can't do this just
Because if you vote Democrat, you're throwing away your vote purely on the simple idea of, well, they're not Trump, and that's not an argument. And it's also not viable. They don't like you. They hate you with a passion. They want you to give them the vote so that you can say, I did my part, while they watch you throw your vote away, saying, I did my part, and making you feel like you did something. It should be the kind of thing that he should be prepared to say. But either Tim doesn't get it, or Tim doesn't know how to communicate it. But that's okay. I'm not Tim. I'll tell you how. Whenever he says that, they have no position, they have no platform. Try to see if you can figure out if even they have a platform. If they don't, then you should respond to this by saying, okay, but what is the platform of Trump right now? Because for all the blister of Trump, I could care less. Because realistically, in this particular election cycle, Vance is the one who's carrying the weight here. More on that when we get there. So you're gonna need to do a little bit more than that, bro. You're gonna need do a little bit more than that.
And wouldn't that be your first priority if you had to drop in Kamala Harris? You know, her campaign is 16 days old now. Wouldn't that be the first thing on the website, the policies for people to rally around? No, because it's all about identity politics. And also, you know, if they're not going to print their policies, then you have to go off the records. And Tim Walz is not endearing to moderates in America, and Kamala Harris, it's not a real position. She's sort of going to...
Well, that's not the way you should approach that. The position you should approach is, until he was just announced, most people don't know who Tim Walz is, and if they look into Tim Walz, they're going to hate Tim Walz. More on that later. But more importantly, if they look into the record when it comes to policy enforcement with Kamala Harris, they're going to find a corrupt woman who will laugh at black men as she uses them for slave labor. You know. Ooh, whoa. Crack that whip, baby. Thank you for your $2. We salute you. This is Path of Exile. Where was I? Fuck. When they look into Kamala Harris and her background, they're going to find a policymaker who would rather put black men in jail than work on the GDP of the fucking state she works for. And, you know, put her legs up over her head to advance her career. Things that we're aware of. Because right now, I believe it's very, very personal between Trump and Kamala. And not because they're running against each other in a dead-set race. It's because I'm pretty sure Trump is the only person inside of the industrial machine that she has not blown. Because I don't know how somebody who could be considered a by-the-book prosecutor, who does corrupt shit that would have been a part of a plot line for SVU, let alone for The Wire, is a person who finds herself in the position that she's in without a little bit of them. Like I said, she is the original Haktua. She is the original Haktua. Prime chieftain daughter of... Or, you know, you could also call them the Gokstanians. From the island nation of Gok. It's the only way that you'll be able to figure out what kind of minority she is. You know, when she's not trying to grift to be 17 different other types of race. Which seemingly is the only thing that she and the other known political race grifter, in this one case, Sacagawea, tried to do. Because all she seems to have, outside of nothing, is, well, identity politics, yes, but specifically, vote for me, I'm, insert ethnicity here. So, you know, the usual. Because whenever she's not actually capable of delivering on policy, which is another reason why it doesn't exist, mainly because every single time that they ask her of this, she demonstrates that she doesn't know how to do her job. Every single time that she's asked to explain about a policy or talk about something that's positive and good, she cackles like a fucking hyena. So of course they can't talk about the positions. It would give her an opportunity to laugh at something, saying, I don't know what you're talking about.
Claims victory from whatever she thinks the Biden administration did well, and then she's going to point to a record as prosecutor, which we know is really controversial.
Well, her campaign manager, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, was giving comments about the border and what was going to happen there with border security, and she said, I think at this point, the policies that are, having a real impact on ensuring that we have security and order at our border are policies that will continue. So Tommy Stevenson with Postmillennial today took a look at that, and he was like, well, if you look at the proclamation that came out in June, it turns out that they have provisions to let in just anyone who shows up.
Yeah, it really makes no sense. Karl Marx said it this way. He said, accuse your enemy of what you are doing as you are doing it to create.
I don't need you to read political quotes to me. Black men I've never seen before. You're not even Jericho Green. So, while I'm not getting my green gear and you're getting your pastor beard on, I'm gonna need you to tell me something more than some fucking quotes, okay? Get that across my line, please, otherwise get off my fucking screen.
Create confusion. And so at the end of the day, they always like to talk about
Distinguished
the right
demolitionists
to be a threat to democracy. But truly, they are the threat to democracy. When you back up and take a look at the record of a person like Tim Walz and the record of Kamala Harris and the record of Joe Biden and the record of Barack Hussein Obama, they all are in the same bucket. What bucket is that? It's the bucket of seeking to trans our children, seeking to destroy our constitutional republic, and it's a plan that has been formulated to even kill babies in the womb. And so it's a disastrous movement. They have nothing to offer to America but more of the same. So regardless of whether or not Kamala Harris is put forth or Tim Walz is put forth, it's the same party. Birds of the same feather. And so we know this. We know that more than ever, we need to get back to the real issues. Inflation, the economy, the fact that many students are trapped in a public school system that's failing them. I say it this way, that in the early 1960s, blacks were locked out of the public.
I swear to fucking God, if I hear another person tell me about the shit that we already know has happened in the past, as you keep retreading it, it's not going to help now. Let's take some words from the 3-hour plus video. By the way, I'm gonna be talking about that tomorrow for Versus Chat at 6 p.m. Don't miss it. We live here, nigga. We have here today. So today, nigga, I'm gonna need you to tell me about what they're doing recently. What have they done for them lately? For them to vote in office. What have they done lately? What have they done for their constituents? What have they done for African Americans in general? Under Trump, motherfuckers had jobs. They could buy gas. They could even get leisure food. Spend their Carlito fun bucks. Under Sleepy Joe's 4 years of one bad night, they can't buy shit. I can't buy shit. Barely anything. I'm struggling. My sister's struggling. My family in general is struggling. My new family's struggling. Everyone's suffering. And everything's hard. So we have to second guess being able to buy a pizza.
I can't do this just yet.
Let alone food snacks. What are you doing lately? You know, when, they aren't destroying their cities and making food deserts, which then further increase their inability to be able to buy things.
The school system. But today they're trapped in. You would think that Kamala Harris would want to liberate minorities, right? And give them the best options for upward mobility in America, but they don't want that. They want to break the back of the middle class. They want to destroy our...
The back of the middle class is already broken. You are like 7 years late on that, bro.
Economy. And that all fits into the Marxist regime, and they're just going to jettison that plan even forward the more.
Yeah.
Kudos on saying the word, unlike most of the people at that fucking panel, bro. I will at least give you your cops and kudos there. They're not very big kudos, but they are kudos. They exist. They are yours. Yeah, no one can take them away from you.
one of their big criticisms of Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, and they being progressives in this case, when he was on the list, in addition to other things, one of the criticisms was the fact that he had voted in favor of some, essentially school choice options,
Right.
which progressives, Democrats will tell you that's bad for, students of color, it's bad for poor communities, it's bad for all of these people, when actually I would think
It's bad for them because by pulling their children out of the public school system, they remove the financial viability of being able to pump those parents and that school sector for money.
being able to spend dollars in a way that serves your individual student would be empowering and would be for the long-term benefit of the students.
So I'm hoping that Tim Walz and Kamala are really just throwaway candidates. That the Democrats have realized they can't win. The polling is bunk.
Sure.
It's skewed in favor of Democrats, and they really do intend for Trump to win. So I've got this tweet here from Steve Kornacki.
I mean, that's a very stupid argument, but that's not a bad interpretation. The problem is that if that's what they choose to go with, they're going to have a bad time. Because if the only reason they're being platformed in this capacity is because, hey, look, they're trying to put these people on the field. If they don't put something of mean on the field to make it seem like they have a brain cell, a bunch of people are going to fucking walk away from the political process if they have not already. And if they're doing that, then we're going to have a sham of what we keep calling our democratic republic. Because calling it the correct thing that it is does not unfuck it, bro. Does not unfuck it. They have to unfuck it. They cannot unfuck it. What are we doing?
This guy is, what is he, NBC, MSNBC. And he says the results of Walz's 22 governor's race in Minnesota don't suggest he provides an obvious boost with blue-collar voters Democrats have been shedding in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And so you can look at the numbers, and since 2012, I mean, these districts that that he won have skewed dramatically towards the GOP. Was the idea, I guess, that they're trying to convey is that this guy represents like the white working class or something?
They say that he connects with rural farmers and that he is like kind of going to counterbalance the effect of who Vance brings to the table. I don't believe it. But
No, the best explanation I've seen is this is what woke elites think working class people act like.
that's what I got from the video today, where they have this stage, obvious video of him pretending to take this call from Kamala that they've already had a conversation about, clearly. Otherwise, why does he have a film crew following him around, to be obvious about it? But there is this messaging that he is going to do, a lot for her ticket. They'll say, vice presidential candidates don't necessarily win you the election, but they can lose you the election. So he's supposed to be kind of strengthening the ticket by appealing to rural Americans, by sort of appealing to a demographic that they think Vance appeals to, and then also sort of adding a little bit more experience to the ticket because he was a member of Congress at one point. I don't think that's going to be the effect.
How can he possibly represent the working class when he went out there just a few days after George Floyd, which was what, May 25th, 2020?
Sure.
And he went out, which was exactly 10 weeks into lockdown. But he went out there and was asking people to get out of the street and saying like, hey, don't riot. We understand your protest. We want to make room for the protest. You had the Minneapolis mayor at the time saying, can you please send in the National Guard? They then struggle sessioned the mayor in public, and you had Walz saying, I will not patronize you as a white man without living those lived experiences. As the city of Minneapolis was burning, some buildings burned to the ground.
Sure. Correct. Thank you for mentioning that. That's where we're going to get more to later, chat.
And that was all intentional. He told the National Guard to stand down. He told law enforcement to take a knee. His daughter apparently at one point leaked the plan of the National Guard as well.
Yes! Now you're my favorite on the panel, black man. More on that in a second, chat. I'm going to let you say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
National Guard to stand down. He told law enforcement to take a knee. His daughter apparently at one point leaked the plan of the National Guard as well.
She sure did.
She did so. And all of that is it's a strategy. By selecting Tim Walz, Kamala Harris just resurrected the BLM movement. That's what this is about.
That's all she's got.
That's all she has. There's an undertone in this country that I believe that the threat to democracy that they speak of, they are the real threat. And this thing may incite some trouble in the coming days ahead. I'll say it that way and leave it there. But they are not happy. They know that they're not going to win. I thought initially that Michelle Obama would be the person that gets put ahead of Kamala Harris, but Joe Biden messed up. He wanted to select a black female in the same way that he destroyed the legacy of Ketanji Brown Jackson. What was the criteria? I want a black female. And so you do that twice, and now you're stuck with the black female, but Michelle Obama would have been a more formidable candidate.
I laugh. Tee hee. Ha ha. Guffaw. No. Not really. Not by much. Not if people like themselves.
To run, but you can't just replace Kamala Harris because she's going to be angry about that. And if you put a white person in front of Kamala Harris, then they're going to lose all of their black support. Consider this, in 2020, President Trump received nearly 9% of the black vote. And this year, in 2024, he's trending about 23 or 24%. So he's doing well. And so they had to find a way to stick with the narrative to win as much of the black vote as possible and to dupe Americans. People, do not be fooled. We are being had. We are being taken. We're being lied to. And what's taking place today with this guy coming forward, Tim Walz, is a reminder that the Democrat Party is defunct.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the...
Thank you, new white woman. I have no idea what your name is, and I probably won't learn what it is. But thank you, white woman. We appreciate you and your job of making sure that Tim's beanie remains friendly on screen as he burns himself way through every single group that he has and every single friend that he has, etc., etc., etc. I need to switch to the next clip, but unfortunately I'm now in the middle of a fogged delirium, so you're gonna have to give me a second. However, I will mog on the camera for a bit. So, as the yapper as I am, yes, what you heard from him there was correct. His daughter, as well as his wife, are people who have directly assisted in the process of fucking people in their city and state. Why? Because they felt like it. That was fun for them. It's what they do. It's a family tradition. You know, a family tradition to commit sedition and make the normal voter feel like they don't exist. Which then brings us to this clip.
To Annihilator. If the election... Alright everyone, I start off today elaborating on a video that I made yesterday. A few people messaged me and they thought I had become black-pilled about Trump's chances of winning. To be clear, I still predict that Donald Trump is going to win the presidency. Kamala has several months now to make mistakes, and she frequently does anytime she's in public. And so that led me to try to elaborate a little bit. There are 3 steps that I think that Donald Trump and his campaign need to take in order to annihilate her. If the election were held today, keep in mind that his polling is still better against her than it was against Hillary on election day, by a couple of points actually. So I think he has a systemic advantage.
Yeah, don't be modest, Sticks. He's not just a couple of points ahead.
There are things that he should do because we don't want a squeaker. What we don't want is for him to not have any form of mandate when he's in the Oval Office because he wins by like 1 electoral point or something like that. We want at least a comfortable margin like you saw in 2016. Here are 3 things that he can do to further that. The first and most important thing that Trump needs to do is drag Kamala out into the public. It's been 17 days. She's not held a presser. She just minted her vice presidential candidate, but she's not really going out in public. There's a lack of rallies and a lack of enthusiasm at those rallies, by the way. There were like, I think, 500 people watching her speech the other day on YouTube, and it's like, all right, well, I could probably get more people watching me making a political speech, so it's not necessarily that impressive. In 2020, you had the meme about hiding Biden. Because he campaigned little, he held very small events, rarely got more than a couple hundred people at them, and many of them were hecklers, actually. You remember that one that he had at, like, the farmhouse? I think he was in Ohio or Iowa or something, and there were a bunch of pickup trucks outside honking repeatedly and coal rolling and stuff like that. She's trying to hide. The more people know about Kamala Harris, the more they will dislike her. It is obvious that this is the case. You don't have to be a conservative or a rock-ribbed Republican or something. I'm an independent voter myself and lean classically liberal to understand she's simply a dislikable person. She's also very awkward. The more that she's forced into the public square, therefore, the more support she'll lose. Now, important note. This doesn't translate to Trump votes. Some of these are people who simply dislike Trump. They're uninclined to vote for him, but they're inclined to vote for his opponent because they know nothing about her. You need to inform those voters about what her platform is, and Tim Walz's platform as well, because that's even more zany. And constantly attempt to get her. Not only should Trump debate her in September on ABC, I think it's a mistake if he doesn't. He should also demand a second debate. As I explained the other day, he agreed to 2 debates with Biden, for example. Well, the first, Biden's not running, so that debate doesn't count. Force her into 2 debates. Make one solely about foreign policy, by the way. That's typical. Usually you had 3 presidential debates. You would have a general domestic issue debate, and in general issues. You'd have the foreign policy debate, and then you'd have a town hall. Now we're down to 2 debates, and they're both just general issue. He should challenge her to either a town hall or a specifically foreign policy debate, and then have the general debate with her, so it'd be like the one that he had with Joe Biden. So bring her out into the public. The more people, force her to flesh out an actual campaign platform.
Yes! Thank you, Tim. I almost said Tim. Thank you, Sticks. That's why you get the big bucks and possibly mistaken for Daniel. Daniel being Razor Fist. You need to pull that ass out. Same way that I was successful in pulling the ass out of a particular thing. Side note, for those of you who are either new here and have not been able to do this, this is Six Hacks and Hammer 666, also known as Six. He is one of the many big commentators who gives straight lace-down content. To answer just a girl. For those who are not aware and do not keep up the stream, in Once Human, there is a group, or was a group, of people who have been trying to fuck with me constantly for 4.5 weeks. 3 days ago, one of them finally got punished, as well as a bunch of secret tickets about the issue finally reaching deaf ears, and now having the team staying on top of it as I've been telling them to the entire time. I did call Sticks. Huh? He's the one that called him that. Anyways, you have to pull particular elements of this kind of stuff out into the open. Because, like how I needed to pull that person out into the open, it was very, very important to be able to get that across the margin. And I will show you why. To do so, I'm going to need to open this clip. Load. Yeah, that's just normal spider cracks, but that's still dirty. I really need to get the film on this replaced. It's getting worse. Oh, there we go. But Looking for it, looking for it. Looking for it, looking for it. Last week file. Where you are wrong, and I'm gonna... Alright, here we go. So, I forgot what date this was. My file reader says last week. Look at the property files. 2nd of August. I'm going to play for you. Yes, I did. Like, this is known information, though. Everybody knows that. At least people in the field that are talking about it know that. Which is why I called him racist immediately afterwards. Anyways. That's your opinion, or you are allowed to have that opinion. Clip, window, player. There we go. So, this particular clip. I want you to watch this clip. I want you to watch this clip for a certain reason. Because this is the exact same thing that they have to do, that anyone should do, whenever you have either disagreements, my hand's hidden behind the screen, when you have disagreements, when you have a discussion, or you need to explain and demonstrate to people how people cannot be able to properly do discussions. This, if no one is aware of him, all of a sudden I'm needing to use the bathroom. This, who you're about to hear speaking, many people who have seen and witnessed me play Once Human know the one who is in this call, audibly, is Enzo. Enzo is now promoted to the position of a moderator for the World 25 Discord that exists for PvE 01-0025, also known as PvE World 25. And the other person in this call, we're going to call him Stuart. And Stewie decides to have an identity by the name of Eros XOSO. I'm going to play this clip for you because I want you to hear the kind of belligerence I've been dealing with and the kind of attitude that I've been dealing with. I explain to you the reason. No, it's not. Not if you keep speaking over them and you keep pretending that you're calm. You're not.
You're talking over. You said I had 10 minutes. And you're not giving me my 10 minutes.
So I'm gonna press the record button.
Talk, you do this.
You're still ranting. I'm gonna press the record button. I'm gonna let you talk for 10 minutes. Then when you're done, I'm going to lay out where you are wrong and why that information is wrong based on the information given to me by other people about you. Go.
And so am I wrong here? Am I in the wrong? Is there something I'm not getting?
You're not explaining yourself. Go. I'll mute myself. Go.
Is it me? All right, he'll mute himself. It's at the beginning. Which I don't need your rebuttal for anything. I'm just trying to talk to you. This is no debate or anything. It's just me trying to talk to you. And it started like we had no problem before you made those assumptions about me and you were making all those accusations about me. And then my friends joined this Discord server. They said, "Oh, hey, look, that Carl guy, he was talking about you and the Prime War discussions thing." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I go look at that. And then I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then I look through your VODs. And I was like, "Why do they hate me? What did I do to them?" I was like, okay, well, let me try to talk to him and get like an understanding of what's going down. And I think that's where we like, first had our couple interactions. And I think it was that same day as when we like talked. Because like before then, I never mentioned your name. I never talked to you. And this is, I think, during the time you were server banned, which now you claim that it's like me. You claim that I'm the one that got, or not server banned, but chat banned. You claim that it was me. You claim that I'm one of the people that reported you. Fun fact, I've only reported one person, and it's because they were advertising. And it gives you like a little mailbox message for when you report people. I could show you my mailbox. You're not in there, Carl. I've never reported you. Nor do I know any of the people that have reported you, because my personal friend group has not reported you. So, I mean, you could think that all you want, but I've never reported you. I've never had to block you. I've never done any of that. Because I don't think there's really a need to. But at this point, like, we can't get along. We can't talk. You have a very like self-absorbed, self-centered, like you're very much, you believe that you're on the right. You can never be wrong. I could never lose a topic. I am always right kind of thing. And it's why we can't get along. You can't admit when you're wrong. And if you could admit when you're wrong, grow and learn, then we could really be friends, I think. And everybody in the server would like you a lot more. And you say that a lot of people don't like me, but a lot of people show up whenever I run those Prime Wars and they thank me. I have people that call me sir and captain and stuff like that, or general, which I think it's weird. I don't think I need any of that, but I think it's like sweet. It's still cool that the community does that. But I don't see that same kind of thing with you. But another thing that like backs up that whole self-centered thing is the way you like name things too. The Carl Mobile, the Carl whatever, like stuff like that. It's like very much you're self-absorbed.
Also, entry. The reason a vehicle is called the Carlsmobile on top of a running joke was because it was a joke specifically about Star's old car. Star is a gearhead, and she likes driving. And when she drives, when she really wants to seriously get somewhere, she's a little bit intimidating and scary. That's it. That's all there is to that.
Which, I mean, I guess it's just something you do, but another thing I want to know, and something that like has been speculated by other people, is do you even...
No, which is why the next section you're about to hear is going to be very interesting, because despite the amount of times this person has told other people to go stalk my VODs and attack me in my VODs and go attack me and harass me on the live stream, he consistently refused to actually answer to things, because every single time he's ever forced to talk, he tries to filibuster by talking over a person as they lay out an explanation or a point, so that they can't be able to speak. So, if they keep asking him, can you stop talking so I can explain? He consistently keeps talking over them, so that the moderator, to specifically give him the ability to do this until he was finally given this. More on that in a second. Because you need to hear what he says towards the end, and then how he does what he does next. He would then use that as justification to say, see, that's why people don't like you, because you have to be muted in order for me to speak. Because this is the kind of idiot attitude that we deal with when we play Once Human. Remember, chat, there's a reason why Horde does not like playing multiplayer video games, and this kind of person is exactly one of those reasons. And I had to deal with this for 4.5 weeks.
What has been speculated by other people is, do you even have a wife and kid? And how are you making money? Because you're not making money off of content. You're claiming that. I don't believe that you have a wife or kid at all. And my current like theory is that it could be like, I wonder if you have anything mental going on. Which, I mean, this isn't like an insult or anything, because, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing if you do.
By the way, it's not a personal thing or anything. I'm just going to insinuate that you're a lying fucking asshole. More on that in a second. That you're a lying fucking asshole and there's absolutely no thing that exists. There is no woman there that you talk to frequently on a camera that I should know because I stalk your VODs. There's no idea of this that should happen anywhere. But, you know, when you're going to address it and call me out about it, I'm going to keep interrupting you constantly. And when you have the information on question in hand to do so, that you hand it to the moderator, specifically because you're typing and writing down every argument I'm making, I'm not going to address. More on that in a second.
Something that, like, I don't know. I
That's a bit of a low blow there.
No, I mean, it wasn't supposed to be like a mean thing. It is literally like, because, you know, I've talked to special needs people. I have special needs friends that have like...
It's not a dig or anything, but I'm just going to insinuate that you're fucking retarded and mentally handicapped.
Kind of thing. Where if it's like...
On top of a liar. But I'm not a liar.
I can understand a lot more, you know? Like talking to him wise, because then it's like, okay, well, now I get why this is going on, and that's cool. But I think we talked about it the other night too. Me and you talked about that, and you even said you thought he had like something, but like you've also dealt with what was it that you said, ESL or not ESL? Ugh.
Attempting to use the moderator in a position to try to make me feel insane by trying to gaslight.
What was it? I don't fully remember, but. Ugh. I don't know. I just don't think me and him can get along. And I think it's probably just best that I either block him or whatever, because I don't think we're ever going to come to common ground.
I should just block him, because we're not going to come to common ground. He's never been able to have a conversation with me directly, because every single time I speak to him, he tries to stop me from speaking. Pay very close attention to what's about to happen next.
I'd never see you in a VC with Carl again, I don't know. That's probably what I'll do. I think it's best for everybody if I just block them.
That's what I'm asking you both to do. Just block each other.
Now, notice that there are 9 things that I've written down. Granted, these are me hyperbolizing a celery, but these are the general come-to summaries of what is being said about me. Pay attention to what happens next.
Like, my only thing is I don't want him still talking about me in chat. Then it's kind of like, oh, well, I could do this.
I can talk all the fuck I want about him in the chat room, especially when we know that he's physically not there, or when we know he's there and he can't speak back during the time where I had him mute. But god damn it, I hate it when he is able to mention me and I can't say anything back, because he had me blocked, and every single time I chose to go from the game into his stream, and then when we got banned from his stream after we harassed him, we tried to go from the game into the server. And when we were being told, stop bringing up problems in the server, I then started demanding that he challenge me directly. Otherwise, he's a coward who needs other people to protect me. Again, please pay very close attention to the next thing that's about to happen.
Same thing to him, and it's just, I don't know, it's still just creating drama and issues. If he just never talks about me, I never talk about him, cool. I'd like that. That's really fair. But I just don't like the idea of, like, you know, I have him blocked and now he's gonna go, you know, talk shit, because I don't block people normally. But probably for the best. Yeah. That's what I'll do. I'm also gonna go eat my pizza.
Oh, he can't even stay to hear what I have to say back to it.
That's
cool.
Serve anymore. Well, I mean, you did the same thing to me earlier when you left, but I mean.
No, actually, I walked out into the hallway and then I walked back into the hallway. I could hear the entire
We're never
time.
talking again. Goodbye, Carl.
Okay, so he is allowed to speak. He doesn't even use the full 10 minutes. He says a bunch of bullshit that he knows is a lie. He harasses me to my face again, which is why I had to be asked to go into this discussion. This again is, of course, from the August 2nd VOD. You can see it for yourselves. But all these insults and accusations, and he does not address them. He runs away because, as he mentioned there, he literally walked away for 10 minutes and has done this multiple times, that he was spoken to directly with witnesses. That he would rather walk out of the room to go eat obscene amounts of pizza. Because, bro, I don't care that much. I don't care that much. I'm gonna stalk you through the internet. I'm gonna socially antagonize you on a regular basis. And then when you mention that we're still socially antagonizing on weeks on end, you just need to sit there and suffer in silence while we continue to try and make content about you. But when you start making content about us and you start taking the piss out of us, we're gonna act like this. Now, of course, there are gonna be some people who are gonna think, Carl, why are you showing me this? Why do you care? You should care that somebody's stalking you like that. I don't know how else to say that to you, bro. This is not a normal level of behavior, because no one speaks like this to people who are trying to have normal conversations. But I say that to you to show you another thing. The reason why Trump needs to pull out Kamala is that Trump needs to pull out Kamala so that they are forced to do something to the equivalent of this. Now, I'm going to show you 2 images. Both of them are links. Both of them are screen caps. This is how this person behaves. In this particular clip, he is adding me, demanding that I challenge him. This is from the same conversation which just occurred. This was the beginning of how this happened. How did we get here? Well, he was talking shit in the game. He was actually given a compliment. He then chose to take that compliment as an insult. He tried to insult me to my face. I then read his words exactly back to him. I called him a crybaby. And then I continued to ignore him as he tried to use other people to speak through others as proxy. Now, what happened immediately after this conversation was that there was an internal discussion that was had by the server owner and the other person in question. Enzo, who is the moderator who is constantly having to filibuster, is always in direct talks with Thick, because Thick does not always play the game very actively anymore. He's a little bit burnt out. Some people are burnt out more than others. Not me though. But this is important and relevant because Enzo and I then had a conversation afterwards, because he ran away, that We had to just simply discuss and talk about the shit. That was the other part of that 20-so-plus minute VOD that you just listened to, that I recorded from the start of the conversation. Because that was me laying out, okay, see, he can't even address what I have to say to him, because it's always, Carl is supposed to sit, talk, and listen, while other people directly insult him to his face. But if I ever refer to it back, this is how we know he's a monster. He's clearly a harasser. This is what happened immediately after that, because of the consequences of his own actions. The way that this works out, as it was explained to me by Enzo, is that after I talked to him, one of the things that Enzo and Thick needed to come to the addressment of is that there are people in the server that, while they make use of it for the purposes of organizing and learning information about other people, especially in the formulation of stalking what I'm doing and trying to benefit off of when I plan things. So if we do something for the people who are there playing the game at the particular time, there's an event called a Prime War. The thing that he was gloating about, I've organized over 72 of them. Over 72 of them, because when we do them, they are planned on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. And just like we were running one in the middle of when I was working with Jay, at that time, I was the one pulling AJ on Jay, that I was organizing the Prime War, at the same time that we were doing the live stream about white guys for Kamala. I was organizing it and shot calling it, while having Enzo and another person help organize in the game to reiterate what I'm saying, so that people understood the calls that are being called, so that when things needed to be discussed and handled, they could be discussed and handled. This is the result of that same group of people discussing what he did privately, and then coming to a decision, and him noticing that decision at 2 a.m. Why did I get a timeout? I've not even been in the game since we talked. We talked with Vic and came to the conclusion that due to the comments about his wife and kids, which were over the line, it just took a bit of time for us to talk about it. That's why you were muted. Because he wasn't even banned from the server. He was muted because of the behavior that he did. Listen to what he says. Said nothing, but questioned if they exist. I would not have said that if it were not for the fact that he was in-game saying we're collecting money off of people doing this and buying his kid toys, which we did. Because many people who I've gone to and shown this to have heard and seen what he had said and done and said, bro, that's so horrible. Here's some money for this. And we can't wait to see the video that's going to detail what was done here. More on that coming later. That's going to probably come towards the end of the season, along with my first review of Once Human. Said nothing bad about them if they do exist. I don't even know the guy, but I'm bringing it up to you. It's Kiwi Farm's level of behavior. Saying I don't know if a dude's family is real when he says things and does things make me wonder if they're real since he brought up a wife and kid. I don't know what Kiwi Farms is because I'm not chronically online, but if questioning a liar, I'm a liar now, is a flex, it's me in trouble, then oh well. I would not have asked that if he didn't show me things to talk about and the ways that he saw me lying, thinking I'm out. Whatever, you know what you were doing, just let it fucking go. I don't think it was over the line compared to the things you've said. I've said nothing about this man because I'm never allowed to speak. That's why I'm leaving. Go to the server. He was finally pulled out and forced to say what he had about me on the record. Didn't actually discuss a single thing. Ran away from the situation and got the consequences of his actions. This is what needs to happen to Kamala Harris. There's a word for this, chat. It's called mogging. He got mogged by me simply allowing him to let himself lay out how he has no arguments. And it's just repeating other pert words and talking points from other people. This is what's supposed to happen when you're dealing with political discussions. 1 second. This is what's supposed to happen when you have to address problems with people. If you're a person like me whose talent is speaking and direction and focus, the fact of the matter is, just like Lucas said, it's Schrodinger's cat level mentality. I am weak and I am strong. Carl's such a monster. How dare he have an audience? But at the same time, how is Carl even able to have an audience? I'll demonstrate this example for you. I have more clips. Long screen. I have more clips that I can show you, but I won't show you all of this one. Mainly because this is a YouTube VOD clip, and it only exists to act as a timestamp that was given to the moderators that were handling my problem. But I will pull out some case examples. Technically, I have 2 of them. Actually, I have 3 of them. Actually, no, I only use 3.
Hello, I'm Carl, the most hated man in World 25, allegedly. And I'm here to tell you...
So, pull out this real quick. This happens to be from 2 weeks ago. In the middle of me doing absolutely nothing and not even being able to speak in the chat room, 2 people happened to be there at the time that this has happened. I am loading up to do an activity, and as you can see in the bottom corner here, you probably can't see it very well, Stony570, one of 5 people who have been banned from my chat room because they specifically tried to stream snipe me by using very naughty words to try and then falsify bans against my account. I was streaming it. Carl can eat my ass, lol. I see this. I was streaming it. Carl can suck it. What do you say fuck me for? I'm not even in a discussion. Look at the people who are present. Myself, another person who plays in the game, who is a friend of the channel. 2 of them, actually. One of them just got back from his wedding, which is Izato. Friend, he has been able to play the game because his ISP is flagged once human as a virus, so he's been working on that. Chew, and there was another 3 extra people, one of which was the server owner and Enzo. They were present when this happened. What was happening in this current situation was that 7 entire different people asked Eros to speak about what he's doing and his plans because we needed to log this information. The information we needed to log was basic information and resource gathering so that we could better plan Prime Wars. He was taking resources, or rather, being donated resources from other players. And then after being donated those resources from other players, he was actively not paying attention to the fact that he was either maliciously taking top vote from every person, or maliciously doing other actions and behaviors. I lied, actually. I have more clips. I forgot these other things are in here. Get to those in a second. Working down the line here. This conversation is what actually led to Eros' problem. Because Eros did not want to do the effort and didn't want to do the work. Because Eros would then try to have a debate with me, where he chose to do the same shit that he was doing here. Now, I won't play that clip for you. I want to spoil everything for you. But there's another one, where, at a particular section of the screen, if you address your attention to the screen, oh boy howdy, who is that right there? Is that Eros talking with Sidhi, talking with a couple of other people, specifically harassing me in the chat room? I believe it is! Listen, he doesn't talk about me, guys, but when he does talk about me, he actively knows that I have a mute at the time from where they are falsifying reports where not arguing with people, but people ask questions, I give them an answer, and then they keep asking questions that are explained by the tutorial of the game, and they keep demanding and begging people for resources, and we're asking them, bro, can you play the game and stop begging us for shit? You know, normal things that are done. I wake up at 6:30 in the morning to record a VOD and to record a video to then put out for content, and I'm just actively being shit-talked to the game. This is, of course, absolute normal behavior, but, you know, it's just normal conversation. I roll at it, look away from it. Which is then led by the next thing that happens. By a Redditor to your behavior. Redditor to your behavior. Constantly typing. Constantly typing. Constantly typing. This was during the Sneeko shit. We had just covered the entirety of the Sneeko most critical debate. And this person chooses to then sit in the chat room. And then calls multiple other people to come raid the chat room, which then looks like this. But you know, Carl's the harassing one. Carl's the bully. Carl does things. Carl's such an evil man. All of this, chat, I show you to demonstrate a point. And the point is, if you want someone like Trump to win in the particular way that you want him to, quote, win, if this is something that you want as an outcome, the thing that you have to do is give your opponent rope. Yes, exactly, Lucas. Give your opponent the rope and then use their own words against them. This is not a debate tactic. This is not blah, 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 blah. It's what you're supposed to do when people act this delusional. I don't know how to respond against this kind of behavior other than calling it for what it is. This is clearly a person who has never been punched in the mouth. I'm not saying he needs to be punched in the mouth, but what I am saying is I hope the people that are his loved ones in his life pull him to the side and tell him that if he acts like this with normal human beings, he's not going to have a very happy outcome for the rest of what he has to work on. I have to show you that, because when I say the level of absolute retardation that exists in a game like Once Human is because you are locked into the server with the same people for at least what we were using for our background of 6 weeks. For 6 weeks, I'm locked into a server with people who don't know how to use the block and mute functions. They would rather harass you than talk to you. And then they would rather harass you than playing the game. And then, when you finally actually get them to either sit down and talk to you, or when they demand that you give them attention, when they are not the center of your universe, they yell at you for minutes at end, and then believe that they are allowed to run away after they bring up talking points that are fighting words against other people, and then pretends this is not a YouTube debate, but then continues to, and begins to, and will probably, if he ever returns, act like a fucking Redditor. While people in that chat room act like a fucking Redditor. Of course he's a young man. Of course he has no stakes in the game. Of course he's not a content creator of his own design. But it's okay, baby boy. Don't you worry. Uncle Carl's gonna take care of it. All of this is to say, you need to pull them out and make them stand on issues. And when they stand 10 toes on issue, lop off their fucking ankles. You gotta pull an Oren Ishii, hide under the bed, shoot him in the ankles so you can shoot him in the head. This is what has to be done if what you want is for people that should not be in office to be in office. Bit of a weird segue, the way that I have to explain it, but we got there, chat. All of this is to say, Trump should ask for more than just 2 debates, 3 debates. He should call for 5. He should call for 10. Because he's got so much time to make up for. Every single time he should be making an appearance, and he should keep turning his head directly to the right to show off how he took a bullet in the ear that was meant for his dome. Because where has Kamala Harris been for the last 4 years? Hell, we've been sleeping through it with Bernie's, with Biden for 4 years. Where was Kamala that entire time? She was elected as border czar to deal with these problems, and she disappeared. And she just reappeared to try and get the nominee to become the lead of the Democratic campaign? That's weird. You should pull her on a stage. You should pull her on a stage. You should pull her out on stage. Because, man, they like discipline, they like bitches, they like patience, they like life goals. Anyways.
Her site doesn't even list any actual issues at all. There are none. There are no policy positions, therefore, for Trump to attack. You need to get her on record. You need to have something to actually attack. This is actually an inverse of the memetics of 2016, by the way. The right wing was an uncongealed mass of chaos at the time, whirlwinding around. Well, it's impossible to attack that. It's sort of like, was it Jackie Chan or one of these others said, be like water. I can't remember exactly.
Bruce Lee, it's okay, Sticks.
Which martial artist, and I'm sure that people are going to crucify me for that in the comments. My apologies. Be like water. Force your opponent to solidify. You have something to attack them. That's number one. The second part of the strategy, tie her to the Biden administration. Remind people, look, she was the vice president all of this time. She was an absentee. Biden was destroying the economy, starting fucking wars, and doing all this crazy shit. She was the border czar, but that's important. That was one of her main policy projects when she was VP. Now she's candidate Kamala, I suppose. She's still acting VP, but she never really did her job anyway, so it doesn't really matter. tie her to the Biden administration and make that clear to the American public. You need to be very concise and very clear. Kamala was VP when this happened. Kamala was VP when that happened. She's been a heartbeat away from the presidency. Plus, Joe Biden chose not to run because of health issues. I mean, that's the excuse that they're effectively going with. It's not 100% clear, it's been kind of vacuous. She knew. She met with him repeatedly, and she knew, and she didn't do anything. She didn't take over the work. She didn't say anything to the public. She lied about Joe Biden's cognitive ability this entire time. Tie her to the Biden administration inexplicably, and that would be another way to prevail. Number 3, and this is mainly pertinent to the debates, but also if you can drag her in as a public spectacle in general, you can probably accomplish this. Assuming you can get her to answer questions from the press that already fawns over her, says she's injecting energy, and all this other astroturf bullshit, and it is bullshit, by the way. Get her to cackle. Make her uncomfortable by bringing up terrible things, dead children and stuff like that. Is this palatable and ethical? Maybe not, but it's worth it for our republic. Bring up drone strikes or war or something that's generally unpleasant that the average person would not find funny. They would find it to be sad. They'd say, oh, 100 kids died in this orphanage in a fire because a drone struck the propane tank. Well, that's fucking terrible. That's the average person's response. It may not be visceral, but they find it regrettable. They don't find it funny. Kamala finds it fucking hilarious, apparently. And she does that uncomfortable cackling laugh, like with her wokeness shtick the other day, which I'm still shaking my head at and don't understand how she can
Don't worry, Sticks. I know exactly what you're talking about. And knowing that this is the Democratic field that likes to glaze motherfuckers, I bet I can find it. 1 second, chat. As though Carl didn't already have it prepared and ready. How did she call it? More woker. Ah, yes.
And, you know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest.
No, this is from 2017. This is not current year. But this is from 2017. You can find all of this all over the internet. It is readily and easily findable should you have some strictly powerful Google foo. Let's watch the clip. Let's watch the clip.
And, you know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
I believe that's the end of the particular clip in question. She said a lot more than this. But apparently, they had to cut out that fucking laugh. But yeah, that laugh she does it all the time. Every single time. She does it all the time. It's probably the most uncomfortable thing about her that I dislike her for. Specifically myself. I had to deal with a lot of heinous shit in my job as a Fed. And I would rather my president not fucking laugh at the situation unless there's actually some humorous situations that have to do with something. Okay? Me personally.
Possibly break down into such fucking laughter over the subject. There's nothing even funny there. It's not anything regrettable, it's just a political ideology, wokeness and equity. But why is it funny? It doesn't really, I'm not 100% sure. Even in her case, it's not entirely clear. Kamala tends to cackle uncontrollably. She's called cackles for a reason. When something terrible is brought up. Well, dude, he can just flash a picture of dead children in Yemen or something like that. She'll start laughing and get all hyperbolic about it. Those are the 3 things I think Donald Trump needs to do. And here's why I'm not black-pilled. He is strategically minded. And he also takes advice from people with influence who his staff happen to watch, and I know that at least one staffer must watch me because his official presidential account at Real Donald Trump on Twitter at one point literally shared out one of my videos. To the staffer that watches this video, I hope, please refer him to this. Give me 10 minutes of Donald Trump's time to advise him. If he does these things, he cannot lose. Kamala Harris is uniquely unlikable due to her literal psychopathy. She comes off as bizarre to people, especially when she's reacting to terrible things. But people don't know enough about her to make that judgment. They don't know what her platform is because she's not trying to formulate a platform. Make it for her. Force her to formulate her platform, and force her in the right direction, of course, so that she's given enough time to single herself, so to speak. I mean that metaphorically, of course. Tired of the Biden admin. The Biden administration is extremely unlovable. Nobody likes it. Even most liberals don't really support his economic and border views. So tired to the administration. Hog tie her to Biden. Make it clear, this is basically just a slightly younger female version of Joe Biden. She has the same ideological principles, and if she has to elaborate on them, then again, you are giving her, you know, latitude to mess up, and she will, because she's Kamala Harris. You can't help but win. Trump can cream her in a debate. You should be demanding 3 goddamn debates with her. Well, I mean, in the old days, we had 3 of them. We had the general debate, the foreign policy debate, and then we had the town hall. Trump will destroy her. It'll be easy for him. He's much more well-spoken than Kamala Harris. Christ on a stick. It shouldn't be hard for him at all. Look at what he did against Joe Biden. Admittedly, Joe Biden not necessarily amped up and in prime form at the time. So I'm hoping that some staffer listens to this reason, gets this to look, you know, Styx has some good ideas. He may be weird. Yeah, he's no Adonis, but, you know, I mean, he's speaking truth here. Truth to truth, strength to truth, or whatever the fucking leftoid moniker is for that basic premise. Truth to power, something like that. They like sloganeering. You can sloganeer all you want, but you need to challenge Kamala to debates, tired of the Biden admin, and make her cackle at some point. And if you can just accomplish that, you're gonna absolutely fucking destroy her. That's about all. Peace out.
But there's more. This is going to be like basically 3 back-to-back videos of Styx speaking before I can get into what I need to show you. So stay with me, chat.
Alright everyone, we start off today with a clip that I didn't know existed. Link in the description.
Also, hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Hello, Aqua.
Description, not archived, it's a literal video clip. This is Kamala Harris rambling about wokeness, and several people sent it to me. Now, I don't know if this is a new clip or if this is from a while ago and it's just being recycled for political purposes, but she's a psycho. She is the girl that you definitely do not want to date. Don't stick your dick in crazy. She's lost it as of whenever this video was recorded. Again, I don't know if this is from the other day, literally, and it's a new thing, or whether it's, you know, something that's from years ago that people just dug back out. And it's like, be woke. You need to be woker. However woke you are, you need to be woker than that. And she's like laughing like a hyena during this particular video clip. There is something seriously wrong with this individual. She is not acting in a normal way. It's almost like, to compensate for the fact that she doesn't have human feelings, because she's a fucking psycho, she's like putting on a facade, so she ends up being like hyperbolic when she laughs and stuff like that. Normally a person only laughs that way and if they're blasted out of their mind on drugs or something like that. Like literally, take a fucking look at it if you don't fucking believe me. I'm capable of finding things funny, but I don't laugh my ass off at something that's clearly not humorous. And clearly this telling people to be more woke is not a particularly funny thing. I mean, you might agree with it politically, but how is it humorous? How's it even a joke? I mean, Kamala Harris is a joke, but I was watching this, and I'm like, what the fuck am I even watching at this point? You know, the laughter will become contagious, and I'll be laughing, but I'll be laughing at her, not with her. It's sort of like when dead babies are mentioned. The normal reaction is, oh, a dozen orphans died. Well, that's too bad. Jesus, that's sad. Kamala Harris's reaction is, Trump is responsible for it. That's basically her reaction to tragic events, like the current economy. It's rebounding a little bit, which means it's probably a foreshadowing, which is actually terrible, but we'll see what happens with that. The average person, though, if they see like footage of a drone strike that kills a bunch of orphans, their natural reaction is usually not to laugh. Their natural reaction is usually to express sympathy, pity, you know, like my condolences, like it makes me feel bad. You know, these little kids and they died and stuff like that. No, not with Kamala. No, Kamala finds it fucking hilarious. She finds herself hilarious more than anything else, though, I've noticed. She always does the hyena laugh, like when she's trying to elaborate on a point. Even if the point is just really cut and dry and there's nothing humorous about it at all. Like, okay, you need to be more woke. Okay, that doesn't even register on the humor scale. Why are you bursting out laughing uncomfortably and very noisily? This is why I think still that Trump will win re-election. Trump has made a couple of mistakes lately. With regards to debate
I'm getting called.
Debate doesn't count. He has made statements that have given his enemies, for example, ammunition against him. Like, I have no problem with what he said on the Black podcast there, but independent voters might have a problem with it. Here's the thing, though. Kamala is so poorly spoken that all Trump has to do is expose her more to the public. They're trying to hide her. They're doing the same thing as they did with Hyde and Biden. They wanted to hide the evidence of his cognitive decline from the public in order to get him, well, not elected, but selected. In order to have that plausibility, they've got to hide Kamala Harris, too. They're not going to be able to rig her into there. There's no way she can win an election on her own merits. She's tied to an administration that's deeply unpopular. She's even less coherent than Joe is sometimes. All Trump has to do is bring her to the forefront and expose her to the public. Right now, he's not doing that. He's allowing her to get away with hiding. That's a tragic mistake, and it needs to stop. The Trump administration is well warned. You need to debate Kamala. You need to debate her twice, if possible, or make her look like a coward when she says, no, I don't want to go on the Fox News Network, or something like that. Put the onus on her. And expose this kind of thing to the American public. Right now, a lot of people, they've never really seen much of Kamala Harris. They don't know what her platform on issues is. They don't know about the fact that she laughs psychotically when dead kids are mentioned. All Trump has to do, therefore, is bring up something like the Afghan withdrawal and say, oh, it's so terrible when those Americans died. And Kamala Harris will laugh nervously at the question. And then she'll give some vacuous statement that doesn't even make any sense and doesn't convey any real message, and people will begin to get the memo. They'll understand that she's a bimbo, which she is. She's fucking retarded. And they'll understand that she's a psychopath. That's all that you need to do. And she is a psychopath. Like a legit, like minted, actual psychopath. Like if she were in for the exam on her mental health, the doctor would be like, what the fuck did I just wade into? It's not like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's demented. But there was a time when he was normal. Okay, you don't have to agree with his ideology. You can think he's wrong in the gunner and the Tough on Crime 94 bill. And I disagree with these things. But at the very least, like, he was capable of conveying a message to people. He was capable of... He knew where he was, in other words. With Kamala, I'm not...
What a joke that'd be.
Not 100% sure. She doesn't need to be demented to be out to lunch. She was fucking terrible. And the fact is that there are people that are being taken in by her shtick because the Trump campaign, so far, over the last couple of weeks, hasn't really done what it needs to countermand her. I still favor him to win, but I would rather this not be a squeaker. I'd rather this be a crushing defeat for Kamala Harris. Force her to debate not just once, but twice. Come out and show this goddamn clip, among other things, over and over in your ads. Show people how unlikable and incoherent she is. Let off the id poll. Let her do that. She's going to be the queen of id poll. She's female and she's BIPOC. So you can't really do anything about that. You need to be the unity candidate. We're Americans. I was not under the impression that a black and a white American were fundamentally different. Say things like that. Unity message. You'll be the unifier and the sane, coherent person in the room, and Kamala will be cackling at dead kids and constantly talking about race and gender and all of the other stuff that has lost the Democrats their support. That's what the Trump campaign needs to do. It is a desperate need also because the economy right now is teetering on the brink. Diplomacy is teetering on the brink. Do I trust that Kamala Harris isn't going to both collapse the economy and start a major war if given a 4-year tenure as president? No, I don't. Even if I fucking hated Trump, I would still fucking vote for him. Saw a cool dude, actually, older dude in the gas station this morning. He had a MAGA hat on, says like, you know, nice hat. And, you know, he's like, he liked that. He's having his morning coffee. No, the stakes are too high. And again, this is not a black pill channel in any way, shape, or form. You know that if you've watched me for more than a week. I'm an eternal optimist, but I don't see optimistic things happening if Kamala Harris is elected. I see her fucking up over and over again. Fucking up diplomacy, fucking up the economy, certainly fucking up gun rights in the energy sector. We need to stop her. The Trump campaign needs to get more serious, and people who support him need to pull weight as well. Again, knock on doors, harvest a ballot, grab your reluctant friend and go early vote. Do whatever you have to do in order to get Trump elected over Kamala Harris. It would be a goddamn disaster. And don't say I didn't warn you. If she is elected, things will get bad. They're gonna get bad anyway, but we can have a soft landing with Donald Trump, who actually knows how to manage an economy and knows how to talk to foreign leaders.
Debatable? Debatable.
Or we can have a really hard landing. Like, it's the difference between when you're landing your little plane. You know, a Cessna's coming in for a landing. One of its wheels breaks off and it skids around, but ultimately everyone on board is okay. That's Donald Trump. With Kamala Harris, it's more like the pilot was completely plastered out of their mind and just slammed it into the tarmac and everyone fucking died in an inferno. That's basically what we're dealing with right now. That's about all. Peace out.
I might need to get dexterity in the boots. Second clip. Going to the third clip. Now, the third clip.
All right, everyone, we have breaking news.
And now, after this one, yeah, I will do this because we already have this. Because I don't, well, no, actually no. Go with my original plan.
All right.
I lied. It's actually 4 clips. Because the last one then leads into everything that I've prepared to present to you here. Because first came the announcement a day ago, technically last night, and then 4 hours ago, the breakdown of everybody learning about him from stolen valor to more. But, third clip.
Apparently, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, apparently he has been chosen as Kamala Harris's running mate. So she skipped over Shapiro. So people that rode the betting odds, some of them are out of a little bit of money right now. Here are my thoughts. Walz is more about the far left, whereas Shapiro would have been more of a standard Democratic running mate, like a Tim Kaine sort of thing. Kelly, I think, would have been better spoken, and he was like the safe choice, and if I was her advisor, I would have said go with Kelly. Buttigieg was an outlier. You would have a double id poll ticket, so that might not have worked very well. Walz is someone who a lot of people don't know a hell of a lot about. They don't know any. So again, they're trying to do the blank check sort of thing. Well, you have a known quantity with Donald Trump, but you have this exotic, unknown, exciting thing over here that you can choose as an alternative. Most people don't know anything about Walz. He is a darling of the far left. He has far left positions on issues. This shows that Kamala Harris is dedicated towards really focusing on Minnesota and Michigan more than anything else. I'll tell you why. There are large Islamic populations there. Having a kind of fence-straddling, I'm not really on board with what Israel's doing, presidential candidate, plus a leftoid as your running mate, therefore endears you to those individuals. I think that Kamala is assuming that she's going to be competitive in places like Georgia and Nevada. That remains to be seen. While recent polling's not good and Trump has made mistakes, Kamala has plenty of time to make mistakes. All Trump has to do is force the issue. I've pointed this out now a half a dozen times. Get her on the fucking debate stage. Get her out in public as much as possible.
If y'all don't mind, Sticks likes to repeat because he loves repetition. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward because most of this is things you already heard. Just trying to get to the next part of the content, you know?
Out-campaign her 3-1 and force her to do more rallies. Force her to get on record as to what she actually believes about on the issues. Likewise, do the same with Tim Walz. Now, Walz v. Vance. What will happen? Vance will probably cream him. He's no Mark Kelly, in other words. Mark Kelly was like, if you wanted to go with the charismatic side of things, charismatic centrist, well, the centrist by Democratic Party standards, that's who you would have gone with. Shapiro was more like, very well spoken, admittedly. He's definitely charismatic, but I mean, the problem is that he's Jewish. And that's why he was apparently skipped over by the Kamala Harris campaign. Allegedly, this is breaking news, so we're not 100% sure whether this is true. That's because you don't want to piss off those Gaza protesters in Michigan and Minnesota. That's basically what it's about. I now favor Kamala Harris with this choice to win both states, but I think it hurts her in other parts of the country. We'll get into that probably later. I think I don't think it'll work. I don't think that Walz. I think that Kelly was a better choice. But you know, that's just my personal opinion. And then of course he had Bashir, and he wasn't really seriously being considered. And there was one other, but I can't remember his name. And they were all white males, by the way. Very, very interesting. Supposedly you're the party of progressivism. You're trying to elevate black voices and stuff. Why don't you have a black lesbian female as your running mate? Very interesting. It's almost like it's just political theater as usual. So supposedly it's Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. I mean, you could do worse. I think Shapiro would have hurt her worse than choosing the leftoid. At the very least, in a couple of states, it helps her. And Cenk must be, by the way, like dancing around like at a Turkish wedding, celebrating right now. The left is rejoicing. Center-left individuals, I think, are going to, assuming that the Trump campaign is able to expose their actual platform and things that these people have actually said, I think it hurts them in Nevada. I think it hurts them in Arizona. I think it hurts them in Pennsylvania, certainly with some of the Trump-related things that these people have said. I think that Trump would win the election. But he has to get his shit together first. We need to be stark and honest. Right now, Donald Trump is in a lull. He needs to pick himself back up. He needs to expose these people. All you have to do is run ad after ad with them in their own words and talk about what they've said and elucidate to the population what they actually believe in. Because right now, they're trying to hide Kamala, and they probably chose Walz because it's like, well, nobody knows who he is outside of Minnesota, and the Minnesotans generally like him. So as long as we keep him off the campaign trail as much as possible, and we don't make actual issues known, and his positions on issues, well, you can't attack us. If I don't know the position of a person on an issue, so let's say that I'm having a debate about guns with somebody, and of course I'm very pro-gun, and I'm trying to debate somebody, you know, over a Christmas dinner or something, which is bad form, by the way. Christmas and a few other holidays, don't talk politics at the table. It comes off as bad. Maybe mention it in panel. But I don't know what they believe about guns. I don't know where their position is. Well, I can't really criticize them now, can I?
This is the reason why, if you try this into most of the recent news concerning that debate between Sneeko and Charlie, this is pretty much the same position of Charlie, by the way. That's why he's taking a back foot to the internet right now. He's trying to remove himself from that stink so people can reassociate him as the pee-pee-poo-poo opinion man.
Have to wheedle them and dig and find their position like a sapper, and then I can criticize their position if I think that it's something that should be criticized. Until I know what their position is, I can't say dick at all. Donald Trump and his campaign need to antagonize Kamala as much as possible and challenge her to make as many public appearances as possible. Because right now it's 16 days without her making a presser, despite the fact that she's the minted Democratic nominee. You might not even have a convention. You might not have any debates. It will be the same as 2020, where Joe Biden effectively sat in the basement, occasionally going out to talk to 20 people at a time. It'll be the same thing, and it will give her the same advantage. Everyone would have known that Joe was completely out to lunch if during the 2020 election he had to campaign more. They would have known had something a little bit wrong with him, and of course now it's a lot of it wrong with him. They would have known that. The same is true of Kamala. She's a fucking psycho. She laughs at crazy shit. And excessively, by the way. She's got a very off-putting personality. She's brain dead. She has so far not released a single plank in her platform on her official campaign website. Get her out in public and get her on record. That's all you have to do. You can't help but prevail. A child could beat Kamala Harris in a presidential campaign or a presidential debate. Trump has it in the bag if he drags her publicly. You can't let her hide. That's the entire strategy. The strategy is better the devil you don't know, effectively, before the American people. But they don't know anything about it.
because she really doesn't go out in public much. She doesn't socialize very much. Well, an empty vessel is better than the devil that you do know because you know it's a devil. So people that have a problem with Trump on any issue, they have a problem with Kamala on the same issue, they don't know where she stands. That's the whole goddamn point, and it's beginning to frustrate me. Only a couple of weeks into the actual general election campaign. Now, Kamala has, by the way, clinched the nominee. She is the official nominee of the Democratic Party. It will be Trump v. Kamala. Drag her. Force her into the open. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, Donald. That's the best advice that I could possibly offer. So yeah, apparently it's going to be Tim Walz as running mate. Well, you can do worse. You could have done better. Walz was like a little better than Shapiro, I guess, as a running mate. But basically, you're trading off the left against left independence. I think that Kelly or Buttigieg would have been better running mates personally. That's about all. Peace out.
And finally, the last clip.
Right, everyone, much like the AstroTurf of, well, Kamala has entered the race now. It's breathing invigoration into the Democratic Party's campaign. And that's an AstroTurf. It's literally paid for by enormous amounts of DNC money at this point, and PAC Blue donations and shit like that. Now they're AstroTurfing Tim Walz. And like, Cenk would come out and say, well, I've spoken with several people, and they said they've never been this excited about politics. They've been trying to cast Kamala off as the new Obama, basically. And Tim Walz is basically, I guess, Joe Biden. It kind of makes sense, you know, cognitively abnormal, bath master, far left policies, although further left than Joe Biden never has, certainly. I would like to posit a different scenario. Tim Walz is a dollar store brand of Bernie Sanders, and nothing more. He was chosen because he's a white male, and so he counterbalances for the bigot voters within the Democratic Party against a BIPOC female who is the presidential candidate. He is a socialist, and that term is literally apt in his case. We're talking, you know, forced unions, higher taxes, hyper-regulation, anti-gunnery, even on a level that might be beyond Kamala Harris, actually, to tell the truth. And he even has, like, a flood picture, where he goes duck hunting, he's in the orange suit with a shotgun, he's like, well, basically, yeah, I'm an outdoorsman, I'm a normal guy. You know, the average boomer voter will identify with me. I mean, okay, whatever. It's just political facade. It's political theater. Tim Walz is effectively a slightly younger version of Bernie Sanders, with arguably even more radical views. Stefanik is not being hyperbolic when she calls this the most extreme left ticket in U.S. history. I say this as someone who was a liberal. I am not a Republican. I am not conservative. I side with the Democrats on a host of issues, by the way, when it comes to LGBTQ things, unless they're trying to pause the kids or something like that. I don't give a fuck what you do in the bedroom. Dress how you want, go out in public how you want, fuck who you want, as long as it's consenting adults, it's perfectly fine. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I don't have a problem with welfare, by the way. Taking me away from classical liberalism a bit, I believe that charity alone is not capable of compensating for those who fall through the cracks in society. Should we reorganize it, make it much more efficient and probably more scant? Yeah, you do that through a more capitalistic economy, by the way. So on that token, I guess you know, my Ron Paul shines through. Tim Walz is an extremist, though. Stefanik is not wrong. Trump is not wrong. He really is extreme. Look at his goddamn policies that he's imposed. Look at his voting record, etc., etc. He's basically Bernie Sanders. Unfortunately, we've been told, and I don't agree with this, but this is what the legacy media said, Kamala Harris is at an excessive risk of being, like, assassinated or something, because there are a lot of racists in the country. The plan is to come and enter in the White House. They'll say it's the White House for a reason, and they'll come storming in and kill everyone and stuff like that. Okay, so then Tim Walz is president. Do I want Bernie Sanders as the president of the United States? As a Vermonter, I can tell you that is not a good idea. You've got a disingenuousness too with Tim Walz. With Bernie Sanders, he actually believes his own shit. He gets high on his own supply. He's been saying the same things for a long time. He's actually a literal commie. With Tim Walz, he's a socialist. He's not really a principled one. To the leftoids out there, you need to understand this. Most of what he's telling you is just to get you to vote for him. He's going to carry forward with a generally left-wing policy. But he's also going to temper himself in accordance with federal whims, so to speak, with the whims of the corporatists and all the other cronies that exist in D.C. He will be a puppet, effectively. He's been chosen because of his race and because of his gender. He's a DEI hire, ironically enough. Yes, Tim Walz is also a DEI hire. Kamala says, look, you know, there are people in the party. Obama had to deal with them. That's why Michelle doesn't want to run for office, by the way. I'm sure she overheard him multiple times in the White House, by the way. Effectively, Tim Walz is nothing more than a counterbalance. It's like Joe Biden was a DEI hire, by the way. Just to be clear, Obama, young, black, and so therefore unique in presidential history. And he said, well, there are people in the party and in the public that genuinely do hold racist beliefs. They don't want me to be the president of the United States because I happen to have darker skin than they have. I'll choose an old white dude as VP. That makes sense, you know, and he can come out and he can talk to the fucking boomers. Kamala's doing the same thing in reverse. Tim Walz is nothing more than a DEI hire. With Bernie Sanders' views in order to assuage the leftoids that she doesn't want retaliating against her. Here's the problem. The Biden thing was literally boycotted by like the Gaza protesters, and some of the especially younger far leftists really did not like Joe Biden. Said, well, these policies are bullshit. And he was the architect of the 94 Tough on Crime Act. That didn't really help him with the Antifa voters. Not that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. It'd be hilarious if they endorsed him. I mean, then it'd be like, you know, how many psychedelics did I take earlier today? Kamala is a little bit more well received because she's BIPOC mainly. And so if you're going, you have to counterbalance for the boomer voters that aren't. So you have to have a white male, but you need to make sure that white male scores at least one box on the leftoids would like them category. Basically, that narrowed it down to Buttigieg, who's gay, and Tim Walz, who is a far leftoid. He's further left than Kamala, arguably. And that's the only reason he was chosen. It's not a huge surprise. Also, it was funny. Shapiro probably thought he was going to get chosen, and then he's like, well, that's my ethnicity. That's the reason that he wasn't. Yes, Kamala chose very strategically and very ethnically, which is very interesting. I always thought the Republicans were supposed to be the party that hyper-focused on race and ethnicity and gender and stuff like that, but you know, the choice was apt in the end. I think that Tim Walz is a reasonably weak running mate. I would have gone with Kelly had I been Kamala Harris. She was probably forced in with them. Probably the left gave her an ultimatum, along with Obama. They bribed Obama to do an intercession or something like that. He's the dollar store Bernie Sanders. He was chosen for his race and for his age range, you know, 60s. So by political standards, that's fairly young. So that goes along with it. And for his ideology, because the leftoids aren't going to have a problem with it. Therefore, when you go to, they'll probably have a real convention now, by the way, too, because leftoid rioters will be like, okay, Kamala is kind of softened compared to Biden Gaza, and Walz has a mixed message, but he wants communism, and we want communism. And then they'll vote for the ticket.
That's what I get for trying to do both at the
same
time.
I feel their internal polling is not nearly as cheerful as the push polling that you're seeing on RCP right now. I have a feeling that they realize that they're definitely still coming from behind, and that this momentum that supposedly exists, it does it all, by the way, which is doubtful, will recede, actually, over the coming couple of months. Donald Trump is more charismatic than either of them. He's more well-spoken than Kamala by a long mile. Vance is a very good public speaker, and his wife actually is no slouch either. She's pulling her own weight. She gave an interview the other day. She's very well-spoken, actually. And Melania tends to be a wallflower. She doesn't want to go out in public, so she can't be of much help to the campaign. Vance's wife, though, she's more of a social butterfly, so that we'll see what effect that has as well. Having two reasonably attractive young first and second ladies, of course, is always an advantage on your ticket. Jill Biden, meanwhile, is too busy watching Joe and giving him his prune smoothies, and it would be weird because Kamala's husband, the first man, if she gets elected, would be a little bit awkward for her campaign, I think, a little bit emasculating. Some voters would be turned off by that. I hate to tell you, but a lot of people do stereotype me. That's about all. So.
All right. Now, why do I show you all that? Because the next thing I'm about to show you is going to make you upset. To do that, I'm going to need to finish my map. But let me talk to you. In no uncertain terms, the kind of things that Walz is involved in should raise your blood and make you angry. But I'm not showing it to anger you. I want to inform you. You need to see it, you need to hear it, and you need to look at it, and you probably need to post something on Twitter about it. Because if you don't, you're not really helping yourself out. Not really. Not in most capacity. Mainly because the biggest problem with him is, like most people, like when it was actually something that came up in the middle of the content yesterday, I did not want to say anything about him until I investigated him. And now that I have investigated him and his credentials, I now have enough information to be able to present to you, because I didn't have enough information to even have an opinion of my own volition.
Better a deal than having to kill you, old man.
So let's start. Let's begin with the most upsetting one. Tim Walz handshaking a deal on driver's licenses for illegals. Let's watch the clip.
It's done. A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
He signed driver's licenses for illegals into rights. They don't have to have papers. They don't have to have proof of insurance. They don't have to have any of the things that you or I or anybody else who owns a vehicle on the road can have. Which, by the way, if driver's licenses are given to illegals, and in order to properly vote, you must have confirmation of voter ID, this is a reach around attempting to stop that. This is election fraud. This is election fraud. It sounds like it's a good thing. This is election fraud. But is it getting worse than that? Of course it does. Don't be so silly, Chad. Of course it gets bad. Of course it gets worse. Would I be Carl if I didn't have a list of things for you? Let's start with the clip that started the thread inside the server. Also, if you are not somebody who is already a part of the Carl and Company Discord server, you can find the links down in the description box below. Please consider putting $1 or $2 in the hat. And remember, a Carl is a terrible thing to waste. Let's get to this bullshit right here.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case, and for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. But we can get out there, reach out, make the case, and for one thing, don't ever shy away.
And then, of course, shows you this. And let's get into what they think of what he thinks of rural America. Here's what Tim Walz thinks of rural America. You see those maps? That's all the red across there, and Democrats go into depression over it. It's mostly rocks and cows in that red area. You know, the rocks and cows that feed the fucking country.
You know, you see those maps, red and blue, and there's all that red across there, and Democrats go into depression over it. It's mostly rocks and cows that are in that red area. You know, you see those maps, red and blue, and there's all that red across.
What else does he have to say? Oh, well, the Dems picked an old white guy responsible for turning Minnesota into a Somalian colony. They're not even hiding anymore. The same thing they did to Minnesota, they plan on doing to the entire country. Look at the UK right now. Look at the UK right now. That's what they want for America.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
He brought out a self-made flag that looks like a Somalian flag for no fucking reason.
Wait a minute.
Because he doesn't like his state and he thinks it's clever. This is a mask off moment, my man. This is literally one of those masked off moments. Not to mention, you know, some things that he said about criminals. But you know, let's not talk about that. That's in another clip. Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities? Yes. From Benny Johnson.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes, local control.
Should Minnesota be a
Now, there's a fair position there where if it's by the state of what is being enforced by the federal level, that could be an acceptable answer. But he just said, should you be turned into the UK? And he said resoundingly, yes. Libs of TikTok. I scowl at you, Shire Reichek. But Governor Tim Walz encourages and supports the 2020 BLM riots, which saw Minnesota on fire for months on end. He ignited and presided over the destruction and the chaos. Ironically enough, these screen caps came from a certain area. I see something that I'm about to steal. I'm stealing it. That meme is mine now. That's going into the downloads. But today, on the 1-year anniversary of his death, we honor George Floyd. In the days following his murder, Minnesotans raised their voices in a call for change that spread across the world. The call that burned down the Wendy's. They have reason to believe that bad actors continue to infiltrate the rightful protests of George Floyd's murder, which is why we're extending the curfew by 1 day. And, of course, pictures of all the riots, the burning and the destruction, and the Wendy's burning in the background. Why didn't you win then? As if the truth is not enough anymore. Governor Tim Walz press conference. Community response mitigation strategies in response to the riots. When I ran for governor of Minnesota in 2022, my campaign put together this video montage of Tim Walz's first-term failures. Enjoy the highlight reel as the worst president in our history is about to pick the worst and most careless governor in the history as a running mate. Because this guy is a conservative that lost as candidate for the governor of Minnesota to what you're about to hear.
I've just signed Executive Order 20-01, declaring a peacetime state of emergency for the state of Minnesota. We need to stop congregating. We're going to close bars. We're going to close the restaurants. We're going to close the places where we gather. Several 100,000 of your neighbors were just laid off. An entire industry has been shut down in the face of this, all for the greater good.
The greater good.
Has issued 104 executive orders affecting everything from schools to restaurants and bars to churches to basically every facet of everyday life.
Democrats who control the House are moving in the opposite direction. Some are pushing to put a mask mandate in state law.
I hold the stereo, I wear a mask to school. It helps to keep me safe.
Explosive testimony from a Minneapolis police union official who says that the governor ordered cops to abandon that 3rd precinct during this spring's rioting.
I was in the command post. I heard it. I heard the governor say, give it up.
At 9:32, Chief Arredondo calls the mayor to tell him they've lost control, can no longer maintain order in the city. And then at 10:13, Chief Arredondo, who's monitoring the scene from a couple blocks away, gets on the radio to announce defeat.
Get a citywide phone right now and our loss of the 3rd precinct.
The 3rd precinct has been compromised.
The mayor said I request the National Guard. Ooh, I'm out. This is great.
we're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
That's Walz. That's how he ran during the riots. That's how he does business. Yes, it was literally hot fuzz. He literally greater good you. He literally greater good you. Boy, good yeah. This kill shot from JD Vance. They make an interesting tag team because Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and the few that got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. Directly from what Minneapolis, Minnesota looked like on May 28th, 2020. Tim Walz let Marxist thugs destroy his state, and Kamala Harris raised money to bail them out of jail. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will burn America to the ground together. If you don't want Kamala to be in power. Ironic. Senate rejects Harris's campaign streaming request. How? I can't believe he got approached by Kamala Harris. If you do not want her or him to be in power, you need to associate this concept together. He burnt it down. She let them out to burn it again. What's left, Clip?
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies. This is a guy who's proposed shipping more.
Fish in a barrel. In my opinion, fish in a barrel. There's more though. This one right here. This one right here. This one right here. I ain't even gonna read to you what's on the tweet. You can read it yourself. But listen to this shit.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing, and I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
I want you to hear that again. I want you to hear that again. Listen to that again. I want you to listen to that again, and I want you to pay very close attention to what she said.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
My husband demanded, asked for, and mandated policies that led to the destruction of my city. So, I left the window open just to let in the breeze of the anarchy and chaos. Get that communism smell all throughout the house. And at the same time, my child is going to leak out National Guard plans so that rioters can avoid arrest. And if they get arrested, the current running VP candidate can be able to bail them out so they can go burn it again and just get all that criminality, get it all up in the house. Just stuff that criminality all up in the house like a female NTR Dojin lover that just loves to see that just gets crazy when they see the word X-ray. This is unhinged. I don't think a person who deals in politics should ever say something to the degree of, man, just get that new anarchy smell all up in my drapes. Just get it all up in my drapes. And my child leaking out things to make sure people can't be held to justice and law. That's what I, as the potential first lady, or rather, first vice lady, should do. That's a statement I should say on a live camera. Yes, sir. Yes. Clap back, snap back, Tweety. Speak your truth. Speak your truth. But there's more. Trump and Vance are weird, says the dude who signed into law requiring that tampons be made available to 10-year-old boys in all schools. Reading directly from the headlines themselves, which you can't read very well. Minnesota schools must stock all boys and girls' bathrooms with tampons starting January 1st. From December 13th, 2023. Minnesota Governor, a Harris VT contender, calls Trump and Vance weird people from the New York Times. Him signing the thing in the law. Walz changed the Minnesota state flag to a replica Muslim Somali flag. So that's not even just him just putting it up there in his office to the, virtue signal. He did that with his policy because he believes that's a smart thing he should do with his time. Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it continues. Tim Walz. For my military lovers there in the chat. In the distance, I'm going to be hearing her screaming. And I don't take pleasure in what I'm doing. For the members of the military in my chat room, not just the Fed workers. The Fed workers get their shit all the day, but it's time for you to suffer a little bit. Minnesota National Guard leaders exposed Tim Walz for stolen valor, lying about his rank, and quitting when his unit was deployed to Iraq. As soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung up his hat and quit.
He's back again to wage a public war of words against Tim Walz.
He abandoned us. What the hell kind of leader does that? He just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
We'll get to Barron's new message for voters in a moment. But this all starts years earlier when Barron says Walz's misleading statements about his military service first led him to come forward in the fall of 2018.
So you try to get this message out. The Minnesota's largest newspaper checks it out, says it's 100% true, but yet refuses to print.
When I hung the phone up, I said, what the hell is this, North Korea?
Back in 2005, a warning order went out to the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery to mobilize for a mission to Iraq. At the time, Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer, but months later, Walz would retire from the Guard, avoid the deployment, and run for Congress. Tom Barron was next in line for the position and was asked to take his place.
I was like, well, for Pete's sake, if this guy quit, and if I say I'm not going to do it, what the hell kind of leadership is that? If a company would say that we're going to deploy to Iraq or somewhere and you're going to be gone for whatever amount of time, and then the foreman just says, no, I'm not going. What does that say to the 500 people that work in that factory?
Barron would go on to serve in Iraq on a nearly 2-year deployment as a command sergeant major. All while Walz began using that title as a congressman. Barron says he first contacted Walz with his concerns, sending these letters to Washington. They all went unanswered.
But then we fast forward to the election in 2018 in Minnesota, and you try at that time to get people's attention with this story and also with what seems to be a very misleading statement that he continued to make about his service.
It kind of just sat there, when he was a congressman, he bragged that he was a command sergeant, retired command sergeant major. I'm the highest ranking person ever in the House, and all this lie that he was telling. The state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say he's a retired one because he's not.
And that's what he was saying.
And he was saying that, and there was lots of lots of cards coming in the mail, for him to be elected. They said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
A spokesperson for the Minnesota National Guard said Walz wasn't able to retire as a command sergeant major since he failed to complete coursework and requirements related to the rank. Verified documents show the Army corrected his service record. Walz was reduced in rank to an E8 Master Sergeant after retirement and his conditional promotion. Alpha News again asked Governor Walz if he's using the Command Sergeant Major rank on his campaign website for political gain this year. A spokesperson said this has been in the news before and pointed us to a past story where Walz said, quote, Normally, this type of partisan political attack only comes from one who's never worn a uniform.
It's stolen valor is really what it is. I don't know of anybody else.
Honestly, that particular fucking dig is hilarious. That's hilarious. And it's not a funny hilarity either. It's an annoying form of hilarity. How can you say partisan when your own fucking government had to correct you like a community note? And you said that shit with seriousness? And you're supposed to be my leader, bro. You're supposed to be my leader, bro. I don't know what you would do, chat, but I know what I'd do. Anyways, back to the clip.
Else has done what he's done. But we called it the truth about Tim Walz.
In 2018, Barron's gave the story the full court press.
We, retired command sergeant majors of the Minnesota National Guard, feel it is our duty and responsibility to bring forth the truth as we know it concerning his service record. I put together information on it and I sent it out to every single radio station and newspaper and TV station I could in the state. The bottom line in all of this is gut-wrenching and sad to explain. When the nation called, he quit.
Twin Cities TV stations and the Star Tribune were silent, even after Barron says the newspaper checked it all out. The Star Tribune endorsed Walz in 2018 for governor. Between lockdowns, riots, unchecked crime, and a charred police precinct, Barron's felt he had no choice but again to come forward.
Allowing that to be burned down was just like having the Alamo get burned down. It's like, no, you defend that to the last man. You know, if he would have went to Iraq, he'd still be hiding under his desk over there. Because that's just, you know, just the cowardice that I seen portrayed with him.
So how about when he also comes out and he calls you guys 19-year-old cooks?
I'd take any 19-year-old cook before I'd go to war with him. I don't know how he could even utter such a statement. I mean, it's just absolutely sad.
So this election year, it's all built up again to Barron's new grain bin message.
He called Jacob Fry an abject failure. So I was like, you know, that's what he is.
Walz is a traitor, also made a return.
And the last one I put together, he said it himself too, as well, if they don't like my job, they can vote me out. So I wrote, we got to vote him out. We need to vote him out.
So, you have a man who has a family that would extricate and assist criminals in avoiding justice as they unlawfully burn the city down over, if we want to be serious, an unfortunate case of optics, paired with a wife that is so huffing her fumes that she wants to open the windows to let the chaos in, like she's baking a fucking apple pie. And on top of that, an unironic coward to the concept of patriotism. Someone who's willing to draft dodge and then turn around and say, nah. I got words for what I'd call that. But honestly, I do not need to be the person that gives that criticism. If anyone's to give that criticism, it should be horror. And horror is probably at work right now. So, let's round it out before we move to new news. And gird your loins, because this one's a little bit going to be a little bit nasty. A lot nasty. From the Associated Press. Live updates. Fact check claim. Claim. Walz once had his stomach pumped because he drank a gallon of human semen. The facts. It was horse semen. I don't know who the fuck brought Foster's grandpa to the campaign trail. Can we send his ass back? I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Reading from horror herself, he can fuck right off. If you run when the nation calls, you are unfit to lead. Yes, sir. Hear, hear. Hear, hear. Let's move to the news. I gotta tell you, that last one when I found it, I don't know. That one was a little bit spicy even for me. Goes down a little weird. But anyways, the particular videos are coming from the channel of Smash JT, because some of these things I haven't fully fleshed out myself, with the exception of the charity scam. A couple of these have backgrounds to them, but I'm going to focus on the top 4 videos. Namely, the charity scam, the Kotaku information, maybe Game Informer, because I did put in something for Game Informer inside the server, because I actually owned some Game Informer magazines back when it used to be decent. And then, of course, the Nick Calandra situation. But, potential friend of the channel, Smash JT, go ahead, follow, like, share, algorithmically promoted things. And when you go to these videos, should you watch them on a later date, put down a message and say, Carl sent me. Anyways, let us dig into the news, starting with the charity scam.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. I am wearing my Nose Ring Mafia t-shirt given to me by Jordan. I will link it in the description below because we're talking about our favorite nose ring character, Alyssa Mercante, who apparently decided to crash our stream last night when I was on Saturday Night Hypnosis.
Man, I have my current GameStop card, because unfortunately it is the only place in my city outside of probably a matching, I say business franchise store, because EB Games and GameStop are the same business, in town that I can buy games from, physically, in a store. If I don't buy my shit off the internet, usually through Amazon, I cannot buy new games if it's not through PC. So anything that has to do with my Switch over in the corner, yeah, I can't buy that unless I physically go hound it myself, or I get it off the internet, that's so fun. I remember when we had several different places that you could go to, including an internet cafe, and it's all dead, it's all gone. It's so fun. Thank you, COVID. Thank you for destroying the fun shit that we could do in my city and making my city more like Jay's.
With Hypnotic and a bunch of other people, starring Cabrutus, talking about all the crazy stuff going on in the video game industry. And of course, Kotaku's favorite editor, Alyssa Mercante, she just couldn't resist diving into the conversation to make it about herself. And I can't ignore this. I wanted to. For the longest time, I saw her doing this. I saw people sharing images of how she's running this thing that's going to be a charity for raising money for this trans lifeline thing. And I'm like, good for her. You know, whatever. I'm not going to even look into that because that's her thing. She stays in her sandbox and plays over there. I'll play over in the video game area, you know, where I want to talk about where she should be, but she's not because she's at Kotaku. But regardless, we were going our separate ways and I was fine with it. But no, she can't help herself. She has to find her way back into the conversation. And she did that on Saturday Night Hypnosis. I just raised over 20K for Trans Lifeline. Let me know if you guys want me to raise money for soap for you, which... Here's the thing. Initially, I saw that, and I'm like, that's probably not even Alyssa. And then I read it, and I'm like, well, that is definitely something she would say. And she was running her auction charity stream on Twitch that night. So, okay, 2 + 2 = 4. I'll bite. Is this really her? And Hypnotic dove into it a little bit further and confirmed, yep.
Is it really her?
Please tell me it's true.
I would bet. Why would you get up here and start bragging about the 20K you raised for Tunity?
Quiet. I think it is her. This account has been around since 2011.
It's her.
And the username is Alyssa Mercante 6514, which I think is exactly what her other username is.
It's
so
her.
It might actually be her.
And you would think this would be bad enough on the surface because she's just desperate for attention and is trying to pull one over on the chuds, as she always puts it. But in reality, by doing this, it opened up a can of worms because I was like, you know what? okay, she's gonna come at me, she's gonna come at all of us talking about video games, even though she should be and she's not. Fine, I'm gonna look into this charity, and what I found out was so bad that even Gerard the completionist himself would be envious. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down not just Alyssa crashing the Hypnosis stream last night and trying to make it about herself, but also proving that she is always lurking. I know Hypnotic has always been saying it, but this is proof in the pudding right now that these people are always watching us. They cannot turn it off. Like, literally, we don't even care about them. And they're so fixated on us that they have to. They can't hide it anymore. They have to come out and be like, hey, I'm here. Look at me. Pay attention to me because me.
Come on up here and stay down. We'll kick Ryan. You know what I'm saying? It ain't my show, but if it was me, I would give you 5 minutes of uninterrupted.
I would have been around, yeah.
I would give you 5 minutes of uninterrupted. I'm going to say everything I want to say about you guys, and then we'll go from there.
Shout out to it.
Man, today's just a running theme of let people have the rope to hang themselves, huh? Man, it's almost like all those chuds they don't like actually have intelligent brains and know what they're doing. Let alone us being intelligent about strategy, based on all those hours of video games we play. Crazy. Crazy.
Atreus for at least extending the olive branch to her to bring her on and actually talk, you know, give her 5 minutes, give her the floor, and have her say her piece. But of course not. She just wanted to say her thing of, oh, I'm better than you guys, I'm doing a charity, and then she took off. And Hypnotic was like, alright, she's gonna crash our stream, we're gonna go and crash her stream. So he brought everyone over to the Twitch stream, which was like a paltry 12 people watching it, and barely anyone saying anything.
I'm not going to hold people on having slow chats. However, for Alyssa, look at me, Mercanti. Fight me IRL, literally. They'll never do it because they're pussies, Mercanti. If you're going to set the field as you guys are boring, lame, and have no fucking energy, I think it's fair. I think that's acceptable.
And barely anyone contributing or donating anything. And everyone was like, hey, we're all here now. And they just started blocking, shutting it down, and cutting everything.
Oh, that's lovely. So, there's a feature on Twitch that if you turn it on as a broadcaster, it's not something automatically turned on, you have to turn it on yourself. If you go to a streamer's audience and they block you and ban you from the chat room, it's just banning it from the chat room. But if they are to avoid you, and then they say to the agent that they're specifically avoiding you in the chat room by doing this tool, you can stop a person from ever being able to permanently see your stream ever, period, again. So, Alyssa Mercante went to another outside, off-platform broadcast, harassed that broadcast, and then, when they came back to just simply say words, she ran away from the engagement that she provoked. Isn't she so lovely? Guys, she's such a wonderful woman. She has such great personality. Her mouth just has so much character.
Everyone off. Which goes in line with the whole rules for me not to be thing, but should we even be surprised by them at this point? Alyssa initially exposed herself as a lurking viewer by commenting on the live episode of Saturday Night Hypnosis that I was a part of. Her attempt to brag about her charitable efforts had backfired spectacularly and come across in a less than flattering light, to put it nicely, after diving deeper into this stuff. Her interaction turned into a desperate need for validation and the questionable nature of her charitable activities. I wasn't planning on looking deeper into the Trans Lifeline charity, to be honest, but after this, I kinda had to. And what I found was completely mind-blowing. But before I even get into that kind of stuff, let me recap what Hypnotic said on Twitter. Alyssa Mercante left lurker mode tonight on Saturday Night Hypnosis. She always watches. Came into my chat and tried to brag about how she raised $20,000 for trans people in her stream, most of which came from industry insiders who felt they had to donate. Which is true, diving into Alyssa's retweets when people were sharing everything that she's been saying about this trans activist stuff that she's been pushing. Most, if not all, of the people she's retweeting that have been donating over sums of $300 have been people who work in the industry themselves, almost trying to validate, like, hey, I'm with you guys. I'm giving money to this. Please don't cancel me. I'm one of you in perpetuating this madness. I chimed in with, Alyssa just couldn't help herself. Pure jealousy and envy, grasping at any straws for semblance of relevance. Comedy gold. This was some can't miss content tonight. Thanks for having me on, Hypnotic. Always a pleasure. One for the ages. And that was really the end of it, until I started diving deeper into the Trans Lifeline charity and wondering, where is this money actually going? And how much of a dent is $20,000 going to really make with whatever they're doing over there?
I can tell you straight up, not enough.
And then I found the executives and how much they were paid. And the information I could find was relevant up until the year 2022. It looks like since then the staff has done a full reorganization and has grown by more than double of the amount of people working there. And this charity has taken on a life of its own. But what do they actually do? According to the Trans Lifeline mission statement, Trans Lifeline is a grassroots hotline and microgrants 501c nonprofit org offering direct emotional and financial support to trans people in crisis for the trans community by the trans community, which I guess on the surface sounds admirable.
Well, you know, most people don't want to support them, so they have to support themselves. It's an admirable quality if you, forget the idea that they really love attacking people for reasons, normal things that normal people do, like going online and obsessing over the numbers and about the amount of money that they earn. Things that you could easily be able to find out on Twitter.com.
You're giving money to people that need it because they identify as trans, which, by the way, by doing that enters up a whole slew of questions of like identity and how you identify and who's even identifying themselves and how they qualify for it and all that kind of stuff. I'm not even gonna get into that tangled web of weeds that could lie, but the specifics of the people that work there and the pay that they get really exposes what's going on here. As of 2022, these 5 directors and board members were being paid over $100,000 annually.
Man, that's some money right there. Well, we all know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the courage to do it. I like sex!
For most of them were part-time or doing this as part of other jobs that they do when I looked into them on LinkedIn, where this wasn't the only thing that they even did. And the co-executive directors were making $150,000 or so annually. And the 5 directors back then, over $500,000 combined in salaries for their efforts, which I guess, charities do cost money to run, and it does take an effort, but you can't tell me that a board of directors, co-chair of Trans Lifeline, should be getting over $150,000 annually for outreach phone calls. Are we serious now? Which would explain the disparity between their income and expenses. When diving into this, the chart has been lopsided as of 2022, where their revenue was $4.7 million, but their expenses surpassed $5.3 million. They're spending more than they were getting, doing whatever the hell it is they do. Phone calls for people that are trans and in crisis, whatever that's supposed to mean. Okay. The disparity between the charity's revenue and expenses combined with the extremely high salaries of the executives raised a lot of questions for me about the true impact of the funds being raised. Alyssa was so excited about raising $20,000 for this charity, and all I could ask is, why? Where's that money going? Who are you supporting with it? What is this money doing to change lives for the better? Because I could argue from the standpoint of supporting people who are trans and in crisis by encouraging them to navigate down that path and going further on it could actually be worse for them. As Mark Fox put on Twitter, Alyssa Mercante raised $20,000 for a cause that will certainly lead to people committing not aliving themselves. Trans rights causes death. Some judge said, the cause even targets minorities for sterilization. Melissa Campers wrote in response to Hypnotic, I am trans. and she can keep her filthy money. She does more damage than good with such an appalling personality. This is a cause being pushed forward and championed by many people in the video game industry as a good thing, and I would argue it's the complete opposite of that.
It's more like they passively support it at a distance. They don't know enough about it to actually be able to truly say if it is or isn't good. They just know, this is what we do here. If I don't support her, I will be called a bigot. So let me put my dollary due in the hat.
The high administrative costs and the inflated salaries of top officials would indicate much of the money...
And you're right, it does sound like feminist frequency. Because it's the exact same element of the shit you have to deal with before.
...raised is not being directly benefited by those intended to help. And in light of that, I gotta ask, did Alyssa thoroughly research the organization she was promoting?
No! They never do! None of them ever do. Why would they? They're the good ones, so they must be good by nature.
She consider the potential implications of her association with it? Well, she probably didn't research it. She probably just said, hey, people can't cancel me if I'm pro-trans in the modern era, so I'll just join this and put money towards it, even though Alyssa herself is not trans. So I'm not really sure what cause she's pushing forward with this and why she selected this one, except for, I gotta be honest, virtue signaling.
Well, it has to do with I'm a good person, and because I'm a good person, I do good things. People who aren't like me are bad people. They do bad things. I support trans people because I'm an ally. And remember what I said about allies, chat, when we had people in here. If you are being identified for being an ally and not for being a friend, you are a single issue person that exists to take money in and give nothing back that actually helps.
Got some goods in from local.
Her attempts to use the charity as a virtue signal not only backfired spectacularly, but also cast some serious doubt on her ultimate motives. The ill-fated attempt...
We get a 6 link, but it's a fucking 2-hand. That's annoying.
To leverage her charitable work for personal gain has exposed more about her than she could have ever anticipated. Unfortunately, this serves as a good reminder for everyone about the importance of transparency and genuine intent when it comes to charitable endeavors. Alyssa wanted to virtue signal. She wanted to prove to everyone that she's such a good person, and anyone who disagrees with whatever she's pushing and promoting is an awful human being, a bigot, a transphobe, all these other horrible things, when in reality, the exact thing she's doing is ultimately the worst thing for society, in my opinion. And no, this is not an anti-trans rant. This is not, I have things against trans people. This is just a, I have serious concerns about a charity that says they're there to support trans people, yet they're paying over $500,000 in salaries to the top 5 executives of this branch that just give phone calls to these people, supporting them and pushing them to become more trans instead of getting them the official mental help and health that they need, the checks that need to be there, the direction, the societal impacts of this are not being met. It's only encouraging this madness and pushing it to a place where it shouldn't be, and by perpetuating the madness, by running a charity, by people donating to it, thinking they're doing a good thing, ultimately, it's making it worse for society at large in general. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. If you guys want more information, check out SmashJT.com. I will link this in the description below. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing here, please consider hitting that join button. I promise it's not going to go towards helping me with trans. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.
So all this money is going to Trans Lifeline. Let's see, Trans Lifeline advocates on behalf of trans people and works to build a resilient trans community. Well, they're not very resilient. You guys are actually pretty damn not resilient. The statistics show that you are 70% some odd not resilient at all.
But again, that is a good thing, because that means that $20,000 is going to go a lot further.
That's true. There's very few trans people that make it to use the money.
That's wild. JT, that's wild. That's wild. Damn, bro. Damn, bro. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. That is wild. That's 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 wild. Oh. Also, very important piece of information. I'm going to segue really quickly. Those of you who are familiar with the content creator Lobster Looker. This is an account that has been suspended unfairly for reasons that have no reason to be done. I would please suggest you and humbly ask that if you have Twitter open and available to you, please go onto the timeline and retweet this, alongside the exact same one that was just published for Master of the TDS, because Master of the TDS was also given this, because Lobster Looker needs to be released. This is a journalist who's been suppressed by the media for about 7-8 years running on Twitter now. This is a known figure, but I cannot say the name of this known figure. Please, go do this thing. Thank you. Anyways, moving forward.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Holy crap. The other day I made a video talking about how Alyssa Mercante came and crashed Hypnotic's Saturday Night Hypnosis stream, trying to brag about how she raised $20,000 for this charity called the Trans Lifeline charity. And in covering that initially, it was more just like scratching the surface of what I found to be an unending rabbit hole that no matter how much research I did, I kept finding more information about how horrific this charity really is. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article that is exhaustive, at least as exhaustive as I could have made it in this sitting, because like I said, this rabbit hole goes deep. From Kiwi Farms investigations to embezzlements of misappropriated funds, it ended up being one of the biggest icebergs of hidden criminal activity in a charity that I've ever witnessed. And this is coming from a guy who covered the Gerard the Completionist saga in depth. And I found this one, I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I genuinely hope that there's some good in this world, like the St. Jude's out there and the other American Red Cross. Hopefully, I don't know, like at this point, the more information that I get from researching charities, I feel like every single one of them has a lot of skeletons in the closet. Let's travel back to 2018, the beginning of the debacle with this charity, where they had to come out with a statement because the co-founders of the charity were caught embezzling and misappropriating funds. That is just the tip of the iceberg, the beginning to all of this. And they want you to think it's to help benefit trans lives, coming from the co-founders of this company that straight up took money, misappropriated it, and did not spend it in the best way possible. They didn't talk to the board about it, they didn't get approval for it, they just straight up took the money. There's a whole long email here that I could go through, but if I read through every word of everything, this would be a 3-hour long video. Let me just pick out the most important, crucial part of it, where they stated, earlier this year, the board launched an investigation into the financial transactions of Nina and Greta and concluded, with the advice of legal and financial professionals, that there had been significant spending of Trans Lifeline funds outside the scope of the current budget. Much of this spending was on an unauthorized project neither approved by the board nor made clear to donors, which Greta and Nina sincerely believed was for the good of the trans community.
It's gonna be the good of you getting pegged in jail, cause you're going to jail. Going to jail. That's a federal crime. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Going to jail. I'm gonna get up and sing. Going to jail. Ah. Going to jail. Fuck. Drop my lid. I dropped my cap. Going to jail. You're going to jail. Going to jail. Going to jail. You're going to jail. 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 You're going to jail. You're going to jail. You're going to get slapped with a giant fine. They ain't going to put you in overtime. Gonna put you inside prison cell. You going to learn how it license me hell. You're going to jail. 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 Ah! I stepped on the cap. I love when people fuck around and finally find out. Don't you love it? I love it.
Unfortunately, their unauthorized project ran afoul of Trans Lifeline's obligations to the 501c3 tax laws. Oh, but it's okay because we felt like it was the betterment of the trans people. We wanted to live a lavish lifestyle, as you could see on their Instagrams back then from doing some research.
Interesting. So they ascribe to the BLM technique of buying large mansions with trans people's money. Yes, you are definitely enriching trans lives. You are transitioning financial brackets. Please weep woefully for these people as they can't find the rich people's baloney. Oh my God. You know, if I were a transgender individual, I think I would be tired of seeing people constantly being caught in scams, and I'd start, you know, being a cliche is not even half the problem. You know how they say things like, you guys always accuse everyone of being this and that? If you keep doing the crime, of course people are going to keep saying it. Because you keep doing the crime. Stop doing the crime. Stop being criminals. Just a thought. Just a thought. Just an itty bitty little thought.
There's an odd series of altars in this map.
These people were not spending the funding that was coming in to supposedly assist what trans people were living through in crisis, which was the whole point of this charity in the first place. But then it got me looking into the financial mismanagement of this charity with Nina and Greta. They were involved in unauthorized spending of the funding that was coming in back in 2018. This is not anything new. It's actually like what this charity was founded upon was embezzling and stealing funding. Okay, let's get that straight. And this charity is still around. And finding this out, I'm like, oh, that explains, like in my previous video, I'm like, oh, these original people were there, but now it seems like they have a complete board refresh. That explains why they had a complete overhaul, why they changed everyone there. Because these people had to be kicked out. They were literally stealing money from their charity. It was so bad that they had to make a public statement about the illegal usage of funds and fired the founders. And
you know, when you call up people grifters and thieves and scammers, and then you literally steal from the people you're supposed to be speaking up as allies for, I can't think of a greater form of comedy. Honestly, I can't. Thank you for giving us such material, Liz McConty. We thank you. Perhaps I'll get another toy for my child. Perhaps I'll get a toy for me! I like toys. Another piece of dragon scale.
that is just the beginning of this rabbit hole. Now I want to talk a little bit about Kiwi Farms. And I know right away you say Kiwi Farms, people are like, oh, nope, turn it off. I can't. Nope, Kiwi Farms, bad. They're bad people. They're awful. You know, bigoted, horrible. It's harassers. You know, here's the thing. That might actually be true for certain individuals on certain websites. But what I found out about the Kiwi Farms investigation about this corporation really exposed what's going on when it comes to institutionalized censorship. Kiwi Farms described in detail the tactics that were used with the Drop Kiwi Farms hashtag, experienced from the inside. Say what you want about Kiwi Farms, but when a corporate agenda is actively trying to hide behind being anti-trans as a way to silence, remove, and ultimately shut down your website, I have some serious issues with that, coming from someone who had people trying to shut down their website.
Remember, they came for the Kiwi farmers first, but I did not defend them, for we did not research Tardcom.
I don't don't like that. I feel like if people have a platform, they should be able to use it to say what they want to say, and the audience can take what they want out of it and either trust the person or not. But they don't need a third party coming in saying, oh, we don't want you, we're going to remove your website and remove the ability to have people decide what they want based off of what you're saying. According to the Kiwi Farms investigation, Trans Lifeline was operated by Greta and Nina. The organizers would post extravagant lifestyle photos on their public Instagrams. Meanwhile, the Trans Lifeline hotline service rarely had anyone online to accept emergency calls. This led Kiwi Farms users to suspect they were stealing from their charity. So we began documenting both their lifestyle and their hotline's performance, or lack thereof. Documents leaked to us by people who had worked with them showed that there was almost no organization, no internal support structure, and no training. Transgender people recruited by TLL to be call agents would then be put on lines to deal with the immediately at-risk unaliving transgender people with scant information on how to actually help them. Some callers reported being hung up on. Operators reported trauma from having to answer life or death phone calls without any idea of what to do or say.
Now, I'm going to be nice and give them the benefit of the doubt. You, first off, excuse me, what? You hired random fucking people? You didn't get professionals? Where's Dr. Taylor this shit? Huh? No bar certifications, no actual fucking people of the expertise in the field, no fucking licensed therapists, because, you know, on-demand therapists, that's a lot of money. You just hired random trans users off the internet, straight off of Egg IRL, and said, yep, now you're gonna have to talk to your friend as you try to get them to not kill themselves. Have fun! And you gave them no research, you gave them no tools, you gave them no ability, you set them up for failure like this? Bro, that's not okay. Bro, that's not okay. You know why that's not okay? That puts all those people at the mercy of the shit you decided to put them in. And that's you basically saying it's not our problem if you kill yourself. Bro, that's not okay. That's not okay at all. How could you? They trusted you. We trusted you. And you go and let them down like that? They're gonna go and kill themselves all over again. This is a level beyond cringe. This is really fucking this is a comedy sketch. You called it first chat. It's a comedy sketch.
These people were hired by this charity to deal with severe life or death phone calls, and they were, get this, volunteers. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But yikes. Years later, and thanks to the information made available only on the Kiwi Farms, they would be ousted from the organization for fraud. Trans Lifeline's operators would later file under penalty of perjury that Greta and Nina had inured hundreds of thousands of dollars. This would begin the long trend of transgender activists saying, ignore the bad things on Kiwi Farms. They're made up, with the punchline being that we'd end up proven right over time and with damage done that could only be mitigated if we were trusted sooner. So it's stuff like this where I'm like, yeah, before I even investigated or looked at or even knew about Kiwi Farms, even me, I had a mentality of like, oh, that's bad, I don't want to trust or look at, that's just awful, horrible, the despicable scum of the earth, human beings on that website. And I don't mean this to come across as like a defense for Kiwi Farms, but it just makes me want to think about other stuff in a different light, with a new perspective of like, okay, maybe what I hear from sources, you know, the institutions telling us what to think, might not be the best approach. We should probably be thinking for ourselves. But back to the specifics listed on the Trans Lifeline website, which honestly is incriminating enough on its own. If you just look at the website for what it is and what they say, I'm like, how could anyone even give money to this fraudulent organization? It's borderline, if not more than borderline, it like literally comes across to me as a criminal organization. Trans Lifeline supports initiatives include paying bail and providing legal assistance to trans individuals, even if they...
Why would the trans individuals need to have bail money? Why does the trans individuals need to have bail money? That's interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed, wouldn't you say, chat?
Been found guilty of crimes. Under their criminalization policy, their approach is rooted in the belief that the legal system is biased against trans people. So they don't trust the police, they don't trust the legality systems, they feel like everyone's out to get them, they are the constant victim, and anyone who's done anything as a trans person and put in prison for it should instantly be jumped out of prison, bounced, sprung, get them out of there because the system got them down. This organization has paid over $500,000, okay, $500,000 towards criminals, people who have been convicted and put in prison. They have tried to get out of prison. Why? Because they identify as trans. This is the organization that the video game industry is like championing as like the best thing, the charity that is a good thing that we should be giving money to. The money that's been embezzled and stolen from the founders to now what the money they do have that isn't is going towards getting criminals out of jail because the system is rigged. What? By supporting the Trans Lifeline, donors are actively contributing to the efforts to release trans individuals from prison, regardless of their criminal convictions, suggesting that the world is inherently just unjust towards trans people, and that helping them navigate or avoid consequences of the legal system is a way to combat systematic discrimination, because it always comes back to, oh, I'm being discriminated against because I'm trans and I happen to murder someone, but I'm trans and the system is just getting me down, but I killed somebody, but it's okay because I'm trans and the system is just really discriminatory towards me. Hypnotic covered it on the Saturday Night Hypnosis. In addition to assisting criminals break free, they also assist in name changes and alternate IDs to assist people in hiding. Like, yikes. ×2.
So all this money is going to Trans Lifeline. Let's see. Trans Lifeline advocates on behalf of trans people and works to build a resilient trans community. Well, they're not very resilient. You guys are actually pretty damn not resilient. The statistics show that you are 70% some odd not resilient at all.
But again, Hypno, that is a good thing because that means that $20,000 is going to go a lot further.
That's true. There's very few trans people that make it to use the money. Provided and coordinated by trans peers. Shocker. The hotline is there to provide peer support to trans people who need it. The micro grant program provides low barrier grants to trans people in need of legal name changes and updated IDs, as well as specialized support for trans people who are incarcerated or detained. So this is all going to money to people who are trying to hide themselves or criminals.
Then we get to the non-consensual hospitalization and medical discrimination, where they talk about how the organization takes a stance that trans people are facing discrimination. It's always discrimination, by the way, because God forbid, like, a trans person is accountable. Like, isn't it interesting, by the way, quick sidebar, like how there's this whole lack of accountability when it comes to activists. They always want to oppress other people and not be accountable for their own actions. And this all circles back to Alyssa Mercante, who could not be accountable for her actions of reaching out to my wife and apologizing for doing that. She was lacking any accountability whatsoever. And digging through this rabbit hole further, I see it's like a mental block that people like her have, where they are just unable to be accountable no matter how in the wrong they are.
I mean, shit, you at least had them contact your fucking partner. They just talked shit and ran away from me. Let me get some of what you got.
But anyways, back to their non-consensual hospitalization. The organization takes a stance that trans people are facing discrimination in medical settings, lacking access to appropriate gender-affirming care, because they need to have the access to gender-affirming care. the money that people are donating to this charity goes towards sponsoring gender affirmation, even if these people are likely to commit unaliving after doing that. In fact, some could argue that this charity is providing the exact opposite of support. Trans Lifeline avoids at all costs involving any emergency services in crisis. You know, the professionals that are prepared and trained to deal and handle with this stuff. Nope, we can't deal with the professional emergency services because we don't trust them. We don't like our legal system. We don't trust that. We don't like the police. The police are bad, so we don't trust them. Like, they don't trust anyone that holds them accountable. Using back alley, unethical, and aggressive approaches, they push gender affirmation, ruining the lives of potentially psychologically ill individuals. They push against institutionalization for people in dire need of mental institutions. All for what? Because they identify as a trans person. Even if, by the way, there are trans people out there that I've conversed with that I feel like are fine. Like, they're not completely off their rockers. They're just identifying as trans. But what if, I know crazy talk here, but what if there's a trans person that is insane? Like, you can't have both. Like, if you're trans, you just, by definition, you are completely sane and normal. Well, according to Trans Lifeline, yeah. And it goes on and on about economic oppression and how there's zero accountability for trans people. And they go into racism and trans people of color due to factors of unemployment, lack of housing, and healthcare access. Here's the thing. Like, if you are looking for a professional job, you need to be professional. Like, it's not about you. I know the world is trying to turn itself into, oh, accept me for who I am because me and I matter because how I identify. If I'm hiring someone for a company, I'm hiring them because of the shit they do and how good they are at doing it. Not, oh, they identify as a flower today. Oh, a rose petal. You want to be called professor? You know, that whole thing where if you don't address people how they demand to be addressed, then you're not living in their fantasy world and then you're the one in the wrong and then they try to get you fired. That whole rabbit hole they're trying to go down, this is all perpetuated by charities that push this kind of propaganda. Trans Lifeline goes into talking about how the interconnectedness of racism, transphobia, and other forms of discrimination occur. They prioritize racial equality and reparations to address systematic injustices affecting BIPOC trans individuals, advocating for structural solutions like abolishing police and incarceration, which, ironically, is racist. They don't want police. They want to abolish the police. They don't want incarceration. They don't want any jail cells. They want it to be like Gotham City after the Joker lets out the asylum. That's the world that these people are actively trying to perpetuate. And anything else they try to tell you is a straight up lie. And none of this even gets into the horrifically racist and discriminatory hiring practices where they require 50% BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, which itself is inherently racist. If you're trying to check off checkboxes for who you're hiring, that means you can't hire someone that is qualified for the position if you've already met your quota on white people. And they don't even hire anyone that's not trans, by the way. You have to identify as trans to work there, even if you're not qualified to handle crisis situations. As long as you're trans, you can get hired there.
What kind of sense does that make? Wouldn't that lead to worse outcomes rather than better ones if at the same time that you're being discriminatory with your practices, you're also hiring the worst of the worst? I understand. Far beyond it that you allow chuds to talk to other people. But I'm going to hit you with an idea, okay? It's going to be real cool. Listen. If you let me in there, and I can do a better job than them, do you think it would be better or worse? I'm just saying. Hear me out. If I get in there and I communicate what it is that needs to be done, I am able to get it. I only have one of these. I need many of these. So that they are not killing themselves. Do you think we can? Rescind that restriction? Because if they gotta be gay and do crimes, and to do crimes they gotta be gay. I'm homosexual. I love men and women. I can suck it better than the rest of them. Let me in there, coach. Let me in there. I'll give the whole team a hand. Everybody can be happy when I'm done. Because if that's the process, you guys literally have no one else to blame but yourselves. If not even the trans people are keeping the trans people alive. And the only reason why that happens is because you made a stupid mandate that said it has to be that way. Don't you think it'd be better? I think it'd be better.
You should probably be black or indigenous. Don't be white, because there's no room for you in a place like this. Oh, and the real kicker? They don't pay any of their hotline workers and only answer calls Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So God forbid you have an actual crisis in your life and you need to call this Trans Lifeline charity hotline and say, hey, I'm thinking of unaliving. Someone help. Hello, your call is very important to us. Please wait 12 hours and hopefully someone will be with you that's most likely not qualified to even have this phone call in the first place. Overall, after looking further into this charity, it is overwhelmingly clear to me that people supporting it either didn't do any research, like whatsoever, zero research. They were just, this is going along with the crowd, being one of the NPCs that's like, oh, it's a charity. It's a good thing. We should give money to it. Let's not question, investigate, or research anything about it, because if we do, by definition of these people, we are now the bigots. We can't research any of it. We can't do our due diligence because that is inherently bigot, racist, homophobic, transphobic, horrible. Just don't question, just give us money. Or the other reason, which is even worse, supporting the criminal actions of this agenda while hiding behind the veil of a charity by springing criminals from prison just because they identify as being trans is so abhorrently insane to me that there are no words for it. And the fact that someone like Alyssa Mercante is trying to champion this like it's a good thing tells you all you need to know about someone like her and her journalism. This right here is straight up proof that she has always been an activist, hiding behind the veil of journalism, using video games as an insidious virus way of inserting herself into a situation and trying to spread it to other people. And this,
I'm gonna tell you a secret. They're all like that.
Seeing the people react in the video game industry the way they are, perpetuating this madness, is proving that what she's doing is working. But it's also why I make these videos. It's a way to fight back, bring some rationalization back to humanity, bring some level of normalcy and understanding and
normality.
Accountability to everyone. But anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. If you guys want more information, holy crap, this was one hell of a deep dive. And again, especially with the Kiwi Farm stuff, it doesn't even scratch the surface of just how insidiously, insanely crazy this charity really is. If you want more information, check out smashjt.com. I have links for all that stuff. If you want to dive down the rabbit hole, have at it. It's a lot of information. It's very interesting, and will give you a new perspective of reality of how these institutions really push their propaganda and ultimate censorship on the entire society at large. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy what I'm doing, please consider hitting that join button. I would genuinely appreciate it. And as always, do stay smashing.
Just know, we are here for you. No problem. You can do the rest of your day.
Remember, chat, do your part. Promote those videos to people. Make sure they can see it and hear it with their own eyes. They ain't gotta take our words for it. They're proud about the stuff. Anywho, final subject matter. there is technically news and development, but considering tomorrow will be the beginning of the new Versus Chat Rota, before I take off to the gaming section of this stream, I will probably have news to present tomorrow, but around the time of about 4, the stream will end an hour earlier. Doppler 9, Carl 9, 1 hour earlier. We will end so that I can be able to set up those Versus Chats, because tomorrow's Versus Chat. Let me screen real quick. Tomorrow's Versus Chat. All of the 3 days have already been set up. So, show real quick. They've been set up. They are ready to go. The only thing that some of them need is a new thumbnail. Tomorrow is sharing the Black Nerd experience. This is probably going to require you to do some learned reading, because many of the things I'm going to be talking about in that Versus Chat is going to be a round robin from people who have definitely watched the content of the video that is inside of that 3-hour discussion in general, as well as the topics that are going to come from it. And that discussion and the element that it carries with it is going to extend into the other 2 Versus Chats. They are all going to be occurring from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. Maximum of 4 hours. You have sharing the Black Nerd experience, what true blackpilling looks like, and the dangers of being male. All of these are going to be the first of the project. The project being how we are scheduling things. All of this a part of the Carltoon Network stream schedule, which I have not put into a picture, but I will be putting into a picture soon. I will try to post a schedule that can easily be seen at the top of every Monday, so that people can generally understand what will happen on those Versus Chats. Daily news will not be covered on it. These are strictly focused topics. If you are new to that idea, and this is your first time hearing the stream, a Versus Chat is literally just a live discussion that happens inside of my Discord. I start the stream, we sit down, and it's effectively a watch together, where we watch through a video, or we discuss things related to a video. This one is probably going to be a discussion, because there's no way we're getting through a 3-hour Carl video in a rational amount of time. It's just not going to happen. But we will dig into a topic, a subject matter, or the content of a person, and it is used as a springboard upon which you can then base your opinion of other things on, and then gauge the conversation and move from there. It has a bit of a focus, it has a bit of a plan, so if you're not familiar with speaking on a microphone, don't be nervous. We'll walk you through it. I'ma hold your hand. I'ma hold your hand. They're fun, they're good, and they're some of the things that we do actively, because I want to hear from you, chat. Carl mauls and talks all the time, but I want to hear from you. And in that vein, it has been necessary to work it this way, because otherwise people would not have the ability to see and hear. And you know, people want to talk, people want to give their opinion, because I'm sure you all have them. And to that edge, I leave you, chat. But not too long, because I will come back soon, but not too soon. Play me out, Jethro! Sponsors for SinglePlayerCarl and Radio Coon are provided by BBC Migraine Powder, Jib and Toby's Ethnic Enrichment Playground, Cringe On Demand, Blockbuster Entertainment, Uncle Tony's Riot Seasoning, Smart Negro Brand Colonized and Sheets Dating App, Immemorial Malt Liquor, and PointDexter.com, and the generous donations and watch times from viewers and haters like you. Thank you! And if you'd like to support Carl, consider leaving a wonderful donation at Ko-fi.com, Subscribestar.com, YouTube.com, and Twitch.com/SinglePlayerCarl. Make sure to support your Nicktree today. or you hate black people. And so, chat, another day, another Carl, another stream. I'm gonna see y'all motherfuckers in the gaming section. Give me about an hour, and I will be back after these messages. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.